Throughout the election 2024 campaign, the one question that was being asked persistently with different answers was, has the election turned? Well, today we know the answer to that question. There has been a dramatic outcome to an election that many thought was a foregone conclusion. The India bloc has halted the Modi juggernaut. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo Story. Over the next 3 hours, we will be decoding the results of Mandate 2024, a mandate that has reduced the BJP to below the 272 mark, and in fact, the NDA as an alliance is struggling to cross the 300 mark. Let's start with a look at the latest numbers. The big shock, of course, for the NDA has come in the BJP, erstwhile bastion of Uttar Pradesh, where the India bloc, the Samajwadi Party and the Congress together are in fact leading and are ahead, distinctly ahead of the BJP. That is a double blow, not just to brand Modi, but also to brand Yogi. The BJP had hoped for at least a status quoist verdict, and that is what the exit polls had projected. But as it turns out, the exit polls were wrong about almost every prophecy. Perhaps other than Odisha, they got literally every state wrong. And you can see those staggering numbers of Uttar Pradesh. 3 states in some ways altered the outcome of this election. Uttar Pradesh, where the India bloc is clearly ahead of the NDA. Bengal, where defying prophecies of doom and the Prime Minister's own claim of a spectacular result, Mamata Banerjee fortified and held West Bengal. And of course, we've also seen the Congress putting up resistance in Rajasthan, where it had been written off, as well as in Karnataka, where exit polls had written it off. Those are the Bengal numbers that you see on your screen. Now, the big question is, what happens next? The NDA at 294 is ahead of the India Alliance at 231. Counting, by the way, is still on. But many BJP bigwigs, including Smriti Irani, are among those who have been defeated. The Prime Minister is most likely poised to be Prime Minister again, thereby equaling Nehru's record. But brand Modi, even in victory, could likely be diminished. And that is what we're here to talk about. What happens next? How do we read these numbers and how do we understand what's happened in the past and how do we look ahead? Let's introduce our guests on the program today. Dilip Cherry is joining us, brand guru, image consultant, being very cautious in the morning. Dilip, I think you can abandon some of that caution now. All of us can. Nalini Singh, veteran journalist, is with us. Maya Mir Chandani, my colleague and friend and political analyst, senior journalist, is also with us. Also joining us is Madhavan Narayan. Madhavan, it's great to see you. And also joining us is Dheeraj Nair, who's of course formerly worked with the Niti Aayog and is now in the private sector. So thank you very much, everybody. Dilip, I'll actually start with you because you were here when the leads were coming in and we were kind of, while many of us did expect the BJP to lose some seats, maybe between 20 and 30, that was conventional wisdom. The exit polls had confused us all. In the end, the BJP fell much further than many or most of us had predicted. Yogendra Yadav was the only one who got it right. Sanjay Kumar of the CSDS was the next closest to the accurate prophecy. All that is done, and there will be perhaps another program on exit polls and so on. Where does Mr. Modi stand today in this hour of contradiction, where the NDA is most likely going to form the government, Modi is most likely going to be Prime Minister for the 3rd time, but even his own supporters on this program today have called it a defeat, a personal defeat for brand Modi?
I think that there's no doubt that if you go beyond the debacle that both Pradeep Gupta as well as Prashant Kishore led us into the minefield of thinking, there has been the voice of the people which has come through much stronger and much clearer than we expected or we were allowed to expect. Everybody thought that this was an election that was on conventional lines. And the fact is that this election has thrown up, as only Indian elections can, a set of bizarre new possibilities, and almost everything is open again. So on the one hand, we have Chandrababu Naidu, who's cancelling his media press conference. We have noises that Mohan Bhagwat has sent out feelers of certain kinds of plans and options before the party and before this thing. So you are
Are you talking about the possibility of somebody other than Narendra Modi being Prime Minister of an NDA government?
saying that for the first time in 10 years, you have both the long knives as well as the short stories in a plenty in
Mhm.
Delhi evening of elections.
So, what will Chandrababu Naidu do next is only one of the many elections in this, as you
I
call
think
it,
the best, Barkha, if
yeah.
I may just crack a moment of levity, the best joke I got this evening was when somebody sent a message to Mr. Nitish Kumar saying congratulations, and he says dhanyavad, and he says sir party, and he says wo badal lenge. So the fact is that you are back in a kind of system where all possibilities are open once again.
I mean, there is Bollywood, viral Instagram accounts that normally cover Bollywood news. Today have coverage of the possibility of Nitish Kumar being deputy prime minister in order for the NDA to keep him in their camp. Chandrababu Naidu, there's talk of him being the convener of the NDA. So, like you said, it's a kind of return to maybe a more normal politics. We don't know. But let me bring in Nalini Singh. Nalini, when we were just setting up for the show, you said politics as we understand it is going to be different from tomorrow. In what way?
Yeah, as we understand it, it's going to be different from tomorrow, Barkha. I hope I said that. Politics would have been a slip of the tongue. Because what we have witnessed, especially in the last 5 years, are these long knives that have been spoken about by Dilip. What did we do to earn this threat of knives from everywhere? The Honorable Prime Minister had said that he will go to 1947 for our income tax accounts, whether we were born or not. So I think that these are this fear, even amongst normal, imperfect people like us. I'm not talking about the great heights that the industrialists achieve and then they attract the ED and the CBI, etc. But even normal people. And we don't meditate, as your screen is showing just now. We just go about our imperfect lives. So I would just say to you that when you go back to UP, I think
Mhm.
one of the things that they will be now thinking about, I don't think they're going to articulate it except in a very, very small group, is that don't leave yogi outside your inner circle. The results that you see today, this is not sanguine yogi's results. I mean, these are not the one where he has hit the ground with great loyalty and enthusiasm. Yogi is spoken of very well in UP by the ordinary people, but look what has happened. Similarly, I think that when we talk about an India that will come to its will land on its feet, what I think Modi ji, Shahji, and whoever their strategists are tapped was the feudal element still in our midst, and that we get scared easily, that we will kowtow to power, that we will be unthinking followers of somebody who becomes a cult. But I think they forgot. There is a little bit, very small bit of Gandhiji still alive in our beings. And the 75 years, 76 years after his death, I am proud to be talking of him as lots and lots of Indians. And also, when we do Nehru bashing, then this is now what 2 generations after he died. And imagine that there are youngsters still standing up for Nehru. So that means 30 years plus 30 years is what a generation is, normally 30 years. So 30 plus 30, 60 years later, youngsters are still saying, few, even if out of 100, 10 say that, look, this is a bit excessive. One should hear this. And I think, Barkha, will go into the politics of it, but I think also to be, rather feudal, to think of oneself as infallible, invincible, and also the cult figure surrounded by sycophants, and then to say you are not biological. Let me to say this in seriousness. It is not. I'm not lampooning. I'm saying that there is. What shall we make of it? If he says that he's actually, here on God's instructions as I believe I am also, to do my little, very small work in the world. So, in other words, what I'm saying is that in UP, it was coming, and also the people of India are watching when you do Jor Tor, when you do in Maharashtra, you're breaking up the Shiv Sena, midnight, going to Pune, going to Guwahati, coming back with, I'm sure, crores and crores of money given to each defecting MLA. Then you do
But
it to
Nalini,
NCP.
but Na-
Yeah,
I
sorry,
hear,
just
I sorry,
but
go
I
ahead.
just want to say the party that Narendra Modi had called the naturally most corrupt party, or the naturally corrupt party. Now, if they start fishing for in the NCP also, what should one make of this?
Okay, you've made a whole lot of points, but let me bring in Maya at this point. Maya, would it be too simplistic? And this is a debate we've been having all day on our programs. How do you read this verdict, right? There are those who read it as a complete defeat for the prime minister, because, in a way, he made himself and the party also made him the center of the campaign. And had the party won, he would have taken the credit. So if the party's lost, he takes the blame. That's one narrative. The other narrative is to say that, look, Modi is still going to be prime minister. He's still going to make sort of equal that record with Jawaharlal Nehru. There's no chance of anybody else forming the government, and therefore the opposition may be overreading this moment. Of course, they have every reason to feel happy about their performance, but it doesn't erase the clout of Modi as a national political brand. What do you say?
No, of course, Barkha. Of course, it doesn't erase the clout of Modi as a national political brand, but it diminishes brand Modi even within the BJP. They've not been able to hit the halfway mark. And this is worse than their 2014 result. Let's not forget that. I think, if you were to ask me what is the overarching takeaway I have from today, one is that the Indian voter does not like the arrogance of power. So I think voters have misled exit pollsters. That's been apparent. They don't want to speak their mind. There's clearly a level of mistrust. Mainstream mass media did not reflect any of the things that independent journalists were talking about, whether it is unemployment, whether it is high inflation, whether it is joblessness. I mean, you name it. There has been distress, not just rural distress. There has been distress at every level of Indian society. There is a sense amongst, whether it's in universities like the one that I teach in, or independent journalists, a sense that today, all right, one can even breathe. One can say there was no space for dissent. There has been a tightening of control over institutions. There has been an infringement of civil liberties. These are trends that civil society in India has been talking about as best as possible for the last 5 years. But as Nalini said, I mean, we all go about our day and worry and wonder about what is it that we're going to say that's going to attract the wrath of the state. And that's not a comfortable feeling for anyone to be with. So I think nobody is talking about the fact that Narendra Modi will not be prime minister for a third term. I think everybody is just saying that whatever is able to create a system of checks and balances on hubris, arrogance, and authoritarianism is welcome in today's landscape.
Let me bring in Madhavan at this point. Madhavan, I will say that in my travels, I did not sense anger. Anger was not the emotion that I sensed, but I did sense a kind of despondency. I found the voter quieter than usual, more resigned than usual. And also, it could be, as Maya pointed out, that people have also become circumspect about sharing their political preferences very openly. So there is that challenge that exists on the ground. But somebody said it to me very nicely. They said, Akrosh nahi hai, ankush hai. Meaning there's no rage, but there's a need to restrain. Is this a verdict that is all about containment, about restraint, about what Maya and Nalini, Dilip have all in their own words referred to as a kind of checks and balance? Politics is normal. Politics in which the government isn't too strong, the opposition isn't too strong, and both have their own role to play. I think that's what I mean by politics is normal. Nobody should have unbridled power.
Yeah, I think there is something called the wisdom of the crowd, which is why we use the word mandate like we read a tarot card or something. When the mandate comes, it contains some hidden messages and signals for us. It's a certain divining we do. And for me, I see poetic justice in this verdict, because what it says is that after Pulwama, if you go back to 2019, you found that Modi was still strong, and BJP was still short of in itself of the 272 mark. But it seemed Modi was the head, then the NDA allies were the tail. But this time, my analogy is that Modi is standing on the shoulders of Chandrababu Naidu and Nitish Kumar, as it were. So you could call, I was just joking, British Raj may be over, but Nitish Raj is still around. So you could actually see that this time Modi has been made to feel conscious of the fact that, as my previous speakers have pointed out, especially Maya, that the ordinary Indian voter has got the sense of, saying something is wrong, particularly on issues that touch everyday life, like unemployment or, inflation. And then also, I have this very interesting, you know, experience-based insight, which is that the average Indian voter also has a way of making sense out of stuff that she doesn't understand, but can gauge in some intuitive way. For instance, they don't understand institutions like judiciary and media or enforcement directorate, but they can sense if there is a noise level around it, something is wrong, and that moves the needle. Now, to your specific question on the restraint and Ankush part, I'm glad you asked me the question because I have to share my personal experience with you. In 1991, I fell for campaign. That was my first real big election, although I covered 89 as well. So 91, I just fell for a lot of the campaign hype and I got my expectations wrong. So I went back to the drawing board and looked at life from the point of view of the poor voter who's powerless, who has no agency except the ballot paper or a electronic button once in 5 years. So when I went to cover the 1993 elections in Himachal Pradesh, which was contentious because BJP was somewhat like what Modi is right now, very overconfident, full of hype and all. So at that time, instead of just listening to the words, I even looked at the pause, the eye movement, and made my own guess. And guess what? I got it right. While all the hype was for BJP, I said Congress is going to win. I learned that the Indian voter has a certain passive resistance approach, and you have to read signals beyond the stated words. You have to study even the pauses, the eye movement, and how they look at each other while they talk to you. I learned to read body language in 93, and I've used some of that this time to understand how it works. And last but not the least, this is one point I really am keen to make, that Mr. Modi in his campaign speeches either uses fear of Congress, or he has a knack of going back 300 or 500 or 1,000 years, or going forward 40, 30 years. All said and done, people who have basic needs are in the here and the now. So how many of the here and now issues, although there were lots of Labharti related narratives going on, it has worked in BJP's favor. Some of the other things, especially in the poorer sections, came out. And one very interesting observation came to me from one of the TV channels today, that the reserved seats have got exceedingly in favor of India Alliance, which basically means the Constitution and Ambedkar factor has weighed heavily on the Dalit voters.
We did find that on the ground, that the Dalit vote was definitely divided, and much of it was shifting to the India Alliance, because they were convinced that if the BJP got 400 par, the constitution be changed and all their protections could go with it. But Dheeraj, I just want to share, when I would talk to voters, I would ask them, can you tell me 3 things you really like about the Modi government and something you'd like to see change? So, and I'm talking about BJP voters. I'm not talking about opposition voters. And unfailingly, they would say about the things they like. They would talk about internal security. The country feels safer. There's been no terrorism. India's place in the world, much better than it used to be. Infrastructure. Modi's a workaholic. 24 ghanta kaam karte hain. He works all the time. Then I would say, okay, what's the one thing you'd want him to change? And I kid you not, from Kanyakumari to Kashmir, the answer was the same. He should focus more on jobs and livelihood. And this Hindu-Muslim thing has gone too far. These are his own voters. People in Bangalore said this to me. In a village in Uttar Pradesh said it to me. Literally everywhere I went, if you ask the question like that, if you goaded them into saying, tell us two things that you'd want to change. So do you think the BJP totally or Modi miscalculated the returns of religious polarization? Because Ayodhya has been lost. Ayodhya has been lost by the BJP. Dheeraj, go ahead.
Yes, I think I have a slightly different view because again, I think where we reverted, we spoke about the past and the last 10 years versus the previous 23 years. I think the big difference this time is that the election has again become a sum of various regional elections because if you talk about polarization or you talk about job discontent, it's not like Madhya Pradesh is booming or Chhattisgarh is booming or Bihar is booming, where the BJP and NDA or Orissa is booming. So I think whether in terms of jobs or or whether or is religious polarization not an issue in Bihar, or does it UP and Bihar have voted very differently? So I think I'm not tempted to make very broad conclusions because the regional variations. I mean, Karnataka, despite the Congress winning an assembly election last year, the BJP has done fairly well. So I think it's a series of what Modi has failed to do this time. I mean, the reason for his success in 14 and 19 was that he succeeded in making the election about him or a national about him and India. That everyone, but this time everyone has not voted for him and the larger India story, whether it's nationalism or security. This time UP has voted on its discontents. Other states, Madhya Pradesh may have voted on its contents. In Orissa, they have voted on discontent against Naveen Patnaik. So I think it's a one explanation fit all doesn't work in this election as far as I'm concerned. Of course, there is, I have been saying this for a while, that there is discontent on the economic front, because if you look at even the GDP numbers, which, say 7-8% growth, if you look at consumption within that, it's about half. 4%. If you look at agricultural growth, 0.3 or 0.6, even in the latest GDP numbers. So, where a lot of people are in agriculture or consumption, which reflects, the growth of or the livelihoods of ordinary households, has been sluggish. It's not even returned to pre-COVID levels. So there is that basic discontent. So you may say you've become the fifth largest economy or fourth largest economy in the world, but people go beyond the data and statistics because they live it. I can say the growth is 8%, but somebody in UP or Bihar or Haryana is feeling it differently. So I think it's the lived experience which is coming to the fore. So certainly there is that base level of discontent, but I'd still be not entirely convinced that this is the only explanation. I think there are a lot of explanations.
So the argument you're making is that in at least 2 or 3 states, the election got severely localized. It wasn't a Modi election.
Yes, he failed to make it. So UP, clearly something happened there in terms of candidate selection, caste arithmetic, because the same thing South. I mean, you can say it didn't work. The temple didn't work in UP, but perhaps it worked in Madhya Pradesh or in Bihar. I think the Nitish alliance with Nitish Kumar saved them. The NDA, because if Nitish Kumar was on the other side, perhaps it would have gone completely differently. So I think there is a certain localization of elections. Rajasthan voted again very differently from Madhya Pradesh, despite them both having assembly elections at similar time 6 months ago. So I think there is a variation, but I'm not denying the fact that they were certain discontents, but how they've panned out has also, I think, is also a factor of candidates, the defections to the BJP, the perceptions of turncoats being taken, or the washing machine or laundry, whatever, all of those things. So I think it's a combination of various things. It's not one thing.
I think I do think that's fair, and I think for us to draw a very oversimplistic one-size-fits-all formula would be wrong, and I do take that point. I was just trying to make the point that this was a kind of uniform response that I got in different parts of the country. There was an unease with the stridency of the Hindu-Muslim rhetoric among his own voters, and there was a craving for livelihood issues to be front and center. I'm not saying that these livelihood issues do not exist in states or areas where the opposition runs the states. I'm just saying this is what his own voters anecdotally said to me. What happens now? What kind of Modi 3.0 are we looking at? Or are we not in agreement that we're looking at a Modi 3.0? Dilip, since you said anything is open, everything is up for grabs. Is there any doubt?
I think I think that there is very little doubt that Modi 3.0 is in the offing. All I said is that you actually have the semblance of what I would call comforting and probably the kind of thing that people in India are comfortable with, which is that there seems to be discussion about all kinds of options. There wasn't in 2014, there wasn't in 2019, and that's the point I'm making. That for the first time, there seems to be the openness of all possibilities. That's one. The second thing is that I think that though it's not been discussed, but when I spoke to a couple of people in UP who had been very involved in elections, not standing themselves and not journalists, they said that Bulldozer Baba may also have been a fear factor too much for the average citizen of UP. So whether that was also a factor is something we need to take into account. So when we look at all these things, it is very clear that the Modi factor and the Modi Prime Ministership 3.0 is something that we need to take into account.
I'm so sorry. Can I interrupt you just briefly, because we have the first official response from Prime Minister Modi. People have placed their faith in the NDA for a third consecutive time. This is a historical feat in India's history. I bow to the Janta Janardhan for this affection and assure them that we will continue the good work done in the last decade to keep fulfilling the aspirations of people. I salute our Karyakartas for their hard work. Words will never do justice to their exceptional effort. So for anyone who was thinking, somebody in the morning said maybe the Prime Minister will not, maybe he'll walk away, maybe he wouldn't want to, maybe he'll be embarrassed. Mr. Modi has declared his claim to power. Dilip, do go ahead.
Absolutely. So I think that the form and format of Modi 3.0 is the likelihood is that despite the fact that they will be able to cobble together the numbers necessary, you're going to see a different power equation within the government. And I think that is the big story going forward.
What do you mean by a different power equation? Do you mean that people like a Nitin Gadkari, who earlier had not much say, will today be able to flex their muscle?
Also, perhaps that the RSS may play a more, shall we say, a shepherding role that may be more visible, which had forcibly to take its hands off over the last two regimes.
Okay, let's open this up. Dilip Cherian says you may see a different power equation in the BJP, in the government. Modi 3.0 is not in doubt.
Just possibilities. That's all.
The Prime Minister himself has confirmed that. Nalini, do you see anything different? Because there are enough offended, marginalized leaders in the BJP. One wonders what Vasundhara Raje is thinking today at the Rajasthan numbers. One wonders what Shivraj Chauhan is thinking. Nitin Gadkari, Rajnath. These are all veterans who have been sidelined in the Modi BJP.
Barkha, you just read out the Honorable Prime Minister's tweet, and I couldn't help noticing that we are back to spinning. So there is a spin in that, the spin doctrine.
In his tweet?
Yes. To say that this is a historic moment in the country's history, political history, etc., electoral history. I would say that that is true. But the overwhelming sentiment, and if I may use a rude word, even in the Godi media, in the what's called the Noida channels, also there is an acknowledgement that something has gone wrong. From the Prime Minister and his lofty status, I would have expected an acknowledgement, a little bit of a nod to the fact that crores of people have not accepted the template that he offered in the last 10 years. That's one. The other one is that I've always known this with elections everywhere in the world, that when institutions are undermined, the opposition stands up, becomes visible. Whether the opposition is political parties or the people of that country, in this case, our country, that this has happened again. So when I spoke about from India has changed from June 5th, this is what I mean, that he may not be able to even use the term Labharthi. Who is he to be a benefactor And who are the women? The women who've been talked about so much because they have got gas, they've got toilets, they've got Awas, a home over their heads. Who is he to turn benefactor? Who are they to turn beneficiaries? These are the rights of the poorest people in any country. In a democratic country, these are the rights. And therefore, I appreciate what he said that do you want to make everybody poor? No, but you do want to make the poor live. They will die otherwise with drinking water that's not there. So I'm just saying that this little bit of a spin and not acknowledging that there is a dip is a little.
But I mean, I don't think politicians change fundamentally. So I mean, I would have been actually more surprised had Modi's tweet said, well, I acknowledge that this result has been disappointing, but I don't know, that just doesn't seem like the Modi we've seen for 10 years. Maya, what might then happen next? You see, there are all kinds of questions. Is this going to be a different government? So the changes are going to be, some changes are obvious. In parliament, the other side has more numbers. They are going to need approval of their allies for more contentious issues. Nitish Kumar previously, for example, on record, it was not greatly enthused by the NRC CA project. We don't know where he or Chandrababu Naidu may weigh in on, things like the Uniform Civil Code. How much changes, how much remains the same? Or do we not know yet?
So before I answer your question, Barkha, the first thing that struck me about Prime Minister Modi's tweet is that he referred to the NDA. He
That's
has
right.
been referring to himself in the third person for quite some time now. Modi ki guarantee, Modi aapko ye pahunchayega, Modi sarkar. I mean, this is suddenly a language that is going back to the NDA. And I thought this was also interesting because earlier in the day, TV channels that were, using their graphics suddenly switched from Prime Minister Modi's face
Image.
to that of the BJP party president, JP Nadda. Now, so that's just an aside. And I guess as somebody who's worked in television and now teaches the power of the image, these things kind of jump out at you because there's subtle shifts which may be lost on others. Coming back to your question about what may happen going forward. I mean, look, I do think that JP Nadda's own comments earlier, I think a few weeks ago to the Indian Express, when he said the BJP has grown beyond the RSS, is something that did not go down well with the RSS. I mean, there will be that little dynamic that's playing out. Where it lands, we don't know. You talked about Nitish Kumar. I mean, has Chandrababu Naidu forgotten the way he was treated by the Modi-led NDA in the last time around he supported them? I think those are questions that the BJP cannot take for granted. Now, whether you offer them deputy prime ministership or convener of the NDA or whatever else permutation and combination, I really don't know which way this will fall. I'm going to go back to saying what I said earlier in response to you, which is that this is a diminished Narendra Modi. And I think it's a diminished Narendra Modi within the Sangh Parivar, within the BJP. So that is the dynamic we need to see. Is the RSS going to put more pressure on him? Are there people like Rajnath Singh and Nitin Gadkari who are going to suddenly also become more prominent in the scheme of things? What happens to Amit Shah as Home Minister? Is he going to come back? Not going to come back? How does Yogi fit into this dynamic now suddenly? I mean, these are multiple questions. I don't think there are any clear answers except simply that the language has changed tonight.
I think that's well called out, and I noticed that, and then I forgot to comment on it. So I'm glad that you did. But very interesting questions. What happens to Amit Shah? Dilip, before I come to Madhavan and Dheeraj, what happens to Yogi Adityanath? Now, the word in the BJP is that Yogi Adityanath was never loved by the central leadership of the BJP, and vice versa. And the conspiracy theorists said that Yogi Adityanath would not have been unhappy to see somewhat of a few numbers falling in UP if it contained Modi. But the extent of the defeat for the BJP in the UP has been such that it's undermined Yogi Adityanath alongside Narendra Modi. Adityanath was at one point regarded as a potential prime ministerial persona after Modi. What happens to Shah and Yogi? Dilip?
I think this combination is probably what the Prime Minister is comfortable with. Will he change it? I'm not so sure. But will
Yeah.
the way the institutions and the structures of government be used within the next government, Modi 3.0? I don't know. I think that there will be checks and balances, especially in the light of what Maya mentioned about how Chandrababu Naidu may react to some things within the way the government functions. So I feel that there will be changes, maybe not so much in the people, but in the kind of policies and the kind of tools that they bring to bear in the process of governance.
Do you see this as a potentially stable government, or it's not? It's too early to say. Let me take that to Madhavan actually. Madhavan and Dheeraj. Madhavan.
Yeah, I don't think the stability of the government is in doubt, Barkha, unless there is a major event that changes behavior. We have
Mm.
to, as we say in economics, Dheeraj will agree, ceteris paribus. Other things remaining constant, we will see a stable government, but the emphasis will shift away from some of the muscular infrastructure talk and big talk, at least towards, let's say, agriculture and some of the everyday issues. At least that. There are two other things I'm expecting to see. First of all, within the party and the larger party, as they call Sangh Parivar, there is this whole Bhakta phenomenon in which it was thought that Modi is invincible and that all of India loves him in a way which is unprecedented.
Unshakable. Mm.
Yeah, so that unshakability and invincibility is gone. To that extent, the halo will fall. That's what I've just argued in an article that I've said. But on the ground level, it's like a cricket match in which you still are a team that is ahead, but which has lost 2, 3 quick wickets. So there will be a more cautious batting, particularly looking at the field positions and look for weaknesses. Now, one interesting point based on what others said also, if you look at what happened to Uddhav Thackeray, and if you
Mm.
looked at what Chandrababu Naidu went through, basically we all know three things. One is that the BJP, if it had its way, will like a monolithic approach, and it's not a naturally built for coalitions. Secondly, if Mr. Modi's ideology about the greatness of India and all these abstractions of the past and the future are any indication, he's a reluctant populist, but he's not an unwilling populist, as his own
Mm.
Labharti politics show. So there will be a lot of tweaking in favor of Labharti politics or agriculture or issues that touch the late, and there will also be the ordinary people, and there will also be more listening to allies. But there will be an uneasiness that I predict, because with Amit Shah like person in the backdrop, it's like a hungry tiger. Even if it's in a cage, it kind of looks hungry to you. So to that extent, there will be a trust deficit between allies and BJP. It will be managed well. And let me compare it with, let's say, the Vajpayee era, where you had somebody like Pramod Mahajan to do a certain amount of mollycoddling and
Mhm.
coalition making. There is no equivalent of Pramod Mahajan in,
Well,
you know,
they've
uh,
never needed it till now. They've never
yeah.
needed
If
it till
if
now.
if
I mean,
that
I mean,
if
there
that,
is,
Sorry,
but they
Dheeraj
will
just
have
wanted to
to.
come in. Can I
no,
jump in, Dheeraj?
I said perhaps this is the time they will miss Arun Jaitley, because he was the only person perhaps in the inner
Correct.
circle around Modi who could reach out to allies, and he was naturally good at that. His personality as well as his politics. But I think what they're up against is that both, if you remember, Nitish and Naidu, since Madhavan mentioned the Vajpayee government, both of these gentlemen were part of the Vajpayee government, and they have long experience in on their side of getting maximum out of a coalition government, whereas Modi and Shah have never run a coalition government, and temperamentally perhaps are not so adept at compromise and the various things that come along with the coalition government. So they'll be dealing with two people who are masters at the coalition game and have done it before with the BJP, not with Modi and Shah, but with another government. The good news, I guess, for the BJP, and if Modi becomes PM again, is that both Nitish and Naidu are generally known as people who run their states reasonably well. I mean, they're good governance icons in a way. So they're. It's not like he's at the mercy of careless populists or people who will drag his politics and economics to the ground. But coalition is a different beast from a single party government. Modi is always. It's not like he was ever a right wing in the sense of not doing pro-poor measures or pro-poor schemes. But I suspect, given all the talk about redistribution, caste census, all the things that the opposition raised in this campaign, I tend to agree with Madhavan that some of the emphasis of policy, no matter who forms the government, will have to be on looking at more pro-poor measures. I just hope that they look at productive jobs, creating productive jobs more than giving doles, because ultimately doles are not going to meet the aspirations of the people. And I think in a way Modi is a victim of his own success, because the toilet gas basics have already been done. Now people want more. They want good livelihoods, good jobs, they have material aspirations. So people want the next step. So the choice before the government is either to give more doles to overcome the current agitation, or they put all their energy into creating facilitating the environment to create good jobs, because ultimately I think that's the only thing which is going to yield dividend 5 years from now, whenever the next election is.
Okay, we've spoken a lot about Modi. Let's spend the last 15 minutes that we have talking about the other players of today, that deserve comment, deserve attention: Akhilesh Yadav, Rahul Gandhi, Mamta Banerjee. Right? We should definitely talk about these three leaders and where this leaves, in fact, the Congress. Dilip, I'll start with you. Rahul Gandhi having won both his seats, Mamta Banerjee there fortifying Bengal. Now let's start with Rahul Gandhi. He has a choice now to make. Which seat does he keep? Which seat does he vacate? And if he goes to Wayanad, which is something you earlier had said would be his preference, I don't know if he'll still do it, given that UP has been the winning state. So it's a quandary. What do you think he might do?
You watched Rahul Gandhi's press conference today. He made a very interesting sideline where he said that for UP, we also need to thank my sister who's hiding somewhere behind. Okay, she was clearly not on the podium. So in a sense, Rahul Gandhi has signaled that he wants to at least partially ascribe, along with Akhilesh, the success of UP to his sister's efforts in the constituencies and in the state of UP. So that might allow us to take a decision as to whether he will quit his seat there or in Wayanad. My sense, as I've said before, is that since he will have to quit a seat, it will probably be Wayanad and allow Priyanka to stand from a safe seat. But if the safety of the seat in Uttar Pradesh is higher now after these election results, then she may and he may together take the decision that this works.
So you believe that sorry, just to clarify, you believe therefore that Priyanka Gandhi will most likely contest the by-poll from Raebareli?
Absolutely could, especially after the comment today at the press conference. And also what I'm saying is that because the litmus test for that would be the brother and the sister's assessment as to whether that seat was safe enough for her debut as a political in the electoral ballot. I think she's done enough in politics and she deserves a place. But I think that for her first time, he would prefer that he is able to ensure that the seat she's looking for is safe. Coming to Mamta, I think that is where the real story of this election is.
Okay.
She came out from behind to win in a very dramatic and very well-defined manner. And she has shown that she has what it takes on the ground in terms of ideology, rhetoric, people mobilization, and last mile connect to ensure that she gets the victory that she needed. There is no doubt that the pressure on her and her nephew was immensely great right through these last 5 years. And to have been able to pull this off almost single-handedly, and I think simultaneously make sure that Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary was not able to succeed in his seat would have
Yeah.
been perhaps a sweetener to her victory.
So she has,
Akhilesh, no words are
yeah.
enough to say how he finally got down to being the big boy of Indian politics and the person able to take charge of UP in a way which we had expected him
Okay.
to do
Let,
last year.
let me open this up for the others. Where does this leave? There's Modi 3.0. There'll also be talk of Rahul 3.0, Maya, which is a conversation that has happened several times, but perhaps this time with some difference.
Uh, Barkha, that's a tough one to answer
Yeah.
because I don't see India cobbling together a coalition in order to stake claim to form a government. Although
Yes.
anything could happen tomorrow. So as we know
Yeah,
in
who
Indian
knows?
politics from today,
Correct.
who knows? But I
Yeah.
do think that given the kind of disarray the Congress party was in or has been in for the last few years. I think everybody who was quick to write off Rahul Gandhi needs to probably rethink today, because for the last year or so, he's been literally taking to the streets, picking up people's issues, whether it is the Bharat Jodo Yatra, whether it is sitting with vegetable vendors in the Azadpur Mandi or coolies at the railway station or Dalit villages. I think there has been a visible effort that he has made in terms of pulling the Congress back together. So it will be interesting to see what happens to the group of 23 who actually had written that letter about his leadership, and where people like that now will find themselves as far as the resurgent or revivalist Congress is concerned. I mean, would they want to be more involved with the Gandhis still at the helm or not? I do agree with what Dilip said about the bipole. My instinctive reaction when he was fighting 2 seats, Raebareli and Wayanad, was that there is a good chance that Rahul Gandhi will win both and will vacate one in favor of Priyanka Gandhi. That's if she's going to contest the elections. I mean, I think there was talk of her possibly contesting in Varanasi against Prime Minister Modi earlier, but they're not known to be great risk takers, as we know. So although in a sense, I guess one wishes that she might have. It would have been interesting to see which way that contest went today, given the mood in UP. But so I do think that, I think the India Alliance has a lot of work to do. We know that it's been a very tense alliance. Everybody has kind of vied for their own space within it. They've had their own compulsions to join it. I think the where it's really worked the most has been UP, because Akhilesh and Rahul have stuck together. And I think they realized that them sticking together was much more important than any divisions on power sharing and who's going to be prime minister if they win, etc. So but that isn't the case for the other members of the India Alliance. I mean, look at Delhi, for example, where they've not managed a single seat, in spite of the fact that the Aam Aadmi Party and the Congress did manage a seat sharing agreement. Neither the Congress nor the Aam Aadmi Party have managed anything in Delhi, and that's disappointing. So I don't think we can be too sort of sanguine about the future of the India Alliance right now. They have a lot of work as far as sticking together is concerned. I mean, look at what happened in Jammu and Kashmir, for example. Also, 2 parties of the India Alliance couldn't agree on seat sharing. Today, Omar Abdullah has lost his election. Mehbooba Mufti has lost her election. So, these are stories of the India Alliance that are going to be thorns in the alliance.
And we should say to that Mamta has been in out on the India Alliance. So what is she going to do is a question.
I don't think we can be too sanguine about them, except for the fact that I think what they should focus on is remaining in the opposition and remaining a strong opposition and building the strength of the opposition.
I just want to clarify that when I said Rahul 3.0, I didn't mean that Rahul is going to form the government. I just meant that this is now a new avatar of Rahul Gandhi. Okay, Nalini, Maya makes an important point. What is the fate of the India Alliance? They came together in an almost existential crisis. They knew if they didn't do this, then it could be sort of curtains for them in this round as well. And they, if they perhaps started even earlier when the Congress wasn't fixated on the assembly elections, who knows, maybe these numbers would have been even more different. But what happens now? They've got to hunker down, stay in the opposition. But will they remain an alliance? Will they remain an alliance? Nalini Singh, can we unmute her, please?
Am I audible now?
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay.
Yes.
Barkha, it would take an enormous amount of talent for the opposition not to realize that if they stay together, and it's only for 5 years, if they stay together, there is no NDA 4.0. And there may actually be India Alliance 1.0. It will take a lot of talent not to realize that. So I would say that's one. Now, so I do expect, these are thinking people, look at Khargeji and all. So I would say that and also Akhilesh will understand that. But I would also say that TMC has fired its first salvo against Naidu and against Nitish. And by saying that, actually it's against the BJP, saying that now the BJP will use these two as crutches to hobble along. So I think she's made her situation clear, and it will remain an abiding mystery on why Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary was not reined in by the Congress party. And it's because of the bad blood or whatever, his comments every day and her rebuttal every day. That they didn't come together. And Barkha, just
they called him an agent of the BJP, in the Congress, the TMC.
And he called her, and he called her an agent of the BJP. And vice versa. Just one more, but 2 points more. One of them is that a very serious thing has happened. You were talking about Jammu Kashmir. Do you know in Baramulla who has won?
Engineer Rashid. Yes.
Yeah, who is in Tihar jail. And you know for what? Tihar jail. And the second person who is Amritpal Singh in Guwahati, who has won from Khadur Sahab.
Yeah, in Punjab.
So what are we ignoring something? Are we ignoring, the way forward to how to deal with this?
Those are. I'm actually glad you brought that up. In Baramulla, where I'm explaining this to the audience, not to any of you. In Baramulla, where Omar Abdullah was up against Sajjad Lone, a third entry of Engineer Rashid, known in the Kashmir Valley as a separatist, is seen to be a kind of, Kashmiris would say, a kind of rebellion vote against the establishment. In Amritpal is very worrying. A Bhindranwale supporter arrested under the National Security Act wins his seat. So I think, thank you for flagging that. Let me just get a couple of last comments from Dheeraj and Madhavan. I can see Gurcharan and Mohan joining us as well. Do go ahead, Dheeraj. What might happen next? What happens to the India Alliance?
Yeah, so, I think, logically, obviously, as everyone is saying, they should continue to stick together because they've achieved some amount of success. But I think, whenever the next election is, probably in 2029, the real challenge again is, for the Congress, because ultimately, if they have to come to power and to be able to run a government, they need, about 30 to 40 seats more than what they have got this time. And they'll need to get a lot of them in direct fights with the BJP. So I think they have made some dent, for example, in Haryana and Rajasthan in terms of on their own, because UP, of course, is with the SP. But, on their own, they have not made such a dent in Gujarat or Madhya Pradesh or Chhattisgarh or Delhi or Uttarakhand or Himachal, where there's still a clean sweep for the BJP. So I think there's a lot of hard work for Rahul Gandhi and the Congress. Obviously, they have done a lot better than 14 and 19, so that should give them the energy and the zeal to work harder. But it takes stamina and patience. So Rahul Gandhi, I think in the last couple of years, has shown some amount of stamina with his Bharat Jodo Yatra and Nyaya Yatra and so on. But I think he has to keep it up for 5 years. And I'd be interested to see, now that the Congress will have a leader of the opposition, which they didn't have in the last two Lok Sabhas, will Rahul Gandhi step up and be the leader of the opposition?
It's a very interesting question. Let me welcome Mohan Kumaramangalam, Gurcharan Das to the program. Mohan, how are you feeling today? I can't hear Mohan. Yeah, there you are. Start over. Yeah.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said that I joined the Congress in 2012. So I've been part of many state victories, but I've never quite felt the way it felt today. And I know we don't have the numbers to form government on our own, but it truly felt today like, we have the foundation to build on to get to that point. It was starting to feel, to be frank with you, a little hopeless at times. So that feeling, that feeling of jubilation is the first time that I felt it, at least in the decade, more than a decade or so that I've been in the party. First I want to say, and this is just on a lighter note, that the Prime Minister made a lot about the Kashi Tamil Sangam, and since I'm from Tamil Nadu, I know how big a deal he made of it. I think he didn't realize that the conversation works both ways. So Tamil Nadu, where we swept last time and swept again this time, seems to have actually made an impact on the public of Uttar Pradesh versus the other way around that he was probably hoping for, which is where we now made a pretty significant dent as well. I think Mr. Modi knew this was coming. And for the longest time, I couldn't understand why a lower turnout that would traditionally even favor a cadre-based party like the BJP would have him suddenly, change his rhetoric to be so overwhelmingly communal and, the Mussalman, mutton, Mangalsutra thing. But I think he saw this sort of verdict coming. He obviously didn't let on, but that must explain why he changed his rhetoric the way he did. I think the biggest surprise for me in this election is Uttar Pradesh. I don't think forget the exit polls. The exit polls got it completely.
No. I traveled a lot in UP, and while I did think that there was going to be some decline, I really did not think that it was going to be the kind of decline that we saw for the BJP today. So no, Mea culpa there. I didn't see it. I saw disquiet, I saw despondency, but I did not see the BJP going down from 62 to 32 or wherever they've landed, roughly there. But Mohan, go ahead. Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they've lost in Ayodhya, fact
we were
that
talking
Mr.
about
Modi
that.
has won by a margin of victory that is lower than Kishori Lal Sharma's victory over Smriti Irani. So his margin of victory itself has gone down so much. And there is a broad trend, right? There is a secular trend, and I'm really loving using that word after a long time. There is a broad secular trend, decline, in fact, for the BJP across many states. Maharashtra, 9%. I think Rajasthan 10%, Jharkhand 8%. You go over the Hindi heartland, their vote share has fallen an average of, I think, at least 6 to 7%. Himachal, where they scored incredibly well last time, I think it was something like 67% of the vote share. That's down 14%. Haryana, we knew had problems ever since Brij Bhushan Sharan Singh, the farmers' protest, etc. But to go down 12% is a large number. So this is, the trend shows that there's clearly a verdict against Mr. Modi. Because this election, frankly, the BJP is in the background. It's Mr. Modi's guarantees, and it was an election led completely.
Except if I may interject, while that's absolutely true in Uttar Pradesh, the BJP would argue, and Dheeraj was, I think, just making this argument, that you can't draw a pan-India conclusion. You at this moment can't say, yes, you can say Modi made himself the center. If he'd won, he would have taken the credit. Now that they've slipped below majority, he takes the blame for that. So far, so good. But when you say that this was clearly an election, go ahead.
I just gave you numbers, right? The
vote share decrease. Yes.
The percentage vote share decrease across the entire Hindi heartland. The West in Maharashtra as well. Did you see Congress winning the number of seats we did in Rajasthan?
There it is. Yeah.
It's unbelievable. Rajasthan 10%, the vote share declined. Bihar 9%, Bengal 3%, Uttarakhand, which is supposed to be their bastion, where despite the fact that they changed 4 chief ministers, we still lost badly to them in the state election. There, the vote share goes down 4%. So there is a complete decline across the board. And this decline is obviously because people are not, the number of people that wanted to vote for Mr. Modi last time, obviously didn't want to vote for him this time. So it's a verdict against his government. And this comes, I think, because he basically ignored all the problems that people were talking about. You go to the Mood of the Nation survey, right? The problems that were popping up again and again every quarter or every whatever regular frequency that they do the survey in again and again were unemployment, were price rise, were income inequality. And if you spoke to anybody in the BJP, and the Prime Minister, of course, didn't even use these words. He didn't bother to address it directly. But even indirectly, all they did was throw out numbers to say that people are essentially doing fine. There is no poverty. There is no unemployment. And price rise, let's just talk about the price rise in the Congress era. Another thing which is more anecdotal, which is not really, statistically significant, but I think it holds, it is pretty important, is I think there's a sense of hubris that got built in the BJP. There's a sense of that we are indefeatable or undefeatable, sorry, or whether we're larger than life and that nobody can touch us. I think that always hurts in politics, and I think that's something that the public in general does not like. So they've been knocked down a peg or two, and that's only something that the public can do. And just one last point I want to make is, let's not forget, Congress party's accounts were frozen, sitting chief ministers were thrown in jail, ED, CBI, IT was on everybody, and you had essentially big parties split up, broken up like they were in Maharashtra, wherever possible, to try and cobble together some hodgepodge of a coalition and to put pressure on the opposition. And let's not get into broadcast media. I mean, we all know what broadcast media is in this country.
Okay.
So
You made
all of this against, right? You had all of this against this opposition. And we still managed to get to this point where actually we put Mr. Modi below majority.
Yeah. It's a very paradoxical day because the NDA is going to form the government, but the opposition is celebrating. So we're in a very paradoxical sort of moment. What?
We don't know that yet. We don't know that yet, right? That they're forming government.
I mean, most
You
likely.
never know what happens.
Most likely, yes, anything can happen. I concede that. Ashwini Shahi of the BJP is with us. I just want to bring him in. Ashwini ji, सुबह बात कर रहे थे तो आपने कहा कि numbers बदलेंगे. नहीं हुआ. You're a good sport to still come for the program. बहुत से आज बीजेपी के लोग जिन्होंने आना था वो आए नहीं उसके बाद. किस तरह से देखेंगे यूपी में जो हुआ?
बरखा जी, देखिए, पहले तो आपको बधाई है, एनडीए सरकार बनाने जा रही है। अब यूपी की तरफ आप ले जा रही हैं तो वो दूसरी बात होती है, लेकिन आप एनडीए की तरफ ले जाइए। राष्ट्र का चुनाव था, एनडीए को अभी भी जो रुझान है और जो परिणाम है जो दिख रहे हैं, एनडीए की सरकार बन रही है और हम गवर्नमेंट बनाने जा रहे हैं। कोई ये भ्रम में न रहे कि राहुल गांधी प्रधानमंत्री बनने जा रहे हैं। ये आपको मैं लाइन देके जाता हूँ।
ये कोई नहीं बोला। ये कोई नहीं बोला।
नहीं, मतलब आप और फिर आप यूपी की तरफ ले आ रहे हैं तो मैं यूपी की तरफ भी आ रहा हूँ। उत्तर प्रदेश में कहीं ना कहीं कुछ कमी हुई है, उसका मंथन हम करेंगे। और आज अभी तो हम एनडीए के जश्न मनाने का समय है, लेकिन उसके बाद जब 2004 का चुनाव हम हारे थे तब भी हमने मंथन किया था, 2014 का जीते थे तब भी मंथन किया था, 9 का जीते तब भी हारे तब भी मंथन किया, 19 का जीते तब भी मंथन किया। और मंथन करने के बाद हम बेहतर तरीके से फिर निकलेंगे और ये जरूर देखेंगे कि उत्तर प्रदेश में हम आखिर कमी कहाँ रह गई। जनता को हमसे अपेक्षा थी, वो हम उनके खरे नहीं उतर पाए, या हमने जो किया वो उनको पसंद नहीं आया। जो भी रहा हो, कुछ भी हमने किया। और अभी हम जो है सुन रहे थे कुछ भाई, अभी हमारे भाई कोई बोल रहे थे, या कई चैनलों पर सुबह से तो लगे हुए हम लोग, पता नहीं किस चीज का जश्न जो है ये इंडिया अलायंस वाले मना रहे हैं। वही बरसात में 4 बूंद अगर पड़ती है तो मेढक की टर टर की आवाज सुनाई देने लगती, 4 बूंद में ही। वही देख रहा हूं कि पूरे इस तरीके की आज जश्न मन रहा है। जैसे आज को अगर हम इसको एक थोड़ा सा सिंप्लीफाई करें तो 2 छात्र होते हैं, एक टॉपर होता है जो 99% नंबर पाता है और एक 3rd डिवीजन वाला होता है। तो टॉपर जो होता है वो 99 के बजाय 80 पा गया, और दूसरा जो होता था वो 40 की बजाय 45 पा गया। तो 45 टॉपर तो वही रहा ना, लेकिन अभी भी वो 40 वाला 45 वाला जश्न मना रहा है कि मैं भी, क्या बताया जाए इस देश में लोकतंत्र की ये खूबसूरती की 100 सीट से कम पाने वाला कह रहा हम सरकार बना रहे हैं।
अश्विनी
नेता तय कर रहे हैं लोग जी।
अश्विनी 400 पार बोल के 300 पार अलायंस भी ना कर पाए, ये तो धक्का है ना। कुछ तो ऑनेस्टली बोलिए।
ऑनेस्टली बोल रहा हूँ। 2022 का चुनाव था, अखिलेश जी ने शायद 2 या 3 सीट छोड़ दिया था हम लोगों के लिए। 400 तो वही भी 200 ले रहे थे, 400 हमारा है उत्तर प्रदेश में, और 111 पर रह गए। अभी उन्होंने 79 का नारा दिया था। अरे आप लोग उनसे पूछिए, हमने अब इस बारे में क्या चलता। देखिए, जीत होती है। हमने 400 का नारा दिया, चलिए अच्छी बात है। मैं कार्यकर्ता हूं, हमारा नेता हमको दे सकता है। वो हमारी कमी है कि हम उतना अचीव करके नहीं पहुंचा पाए, ये हमारी कमी है। उस कमी को मैं आत्मसात करता हूं और मानता हूं कि कहीं ना कहीं कमी रही है कि हम अपने नेता को हम डिलीवर नहीं कर पाए। तो वो मत कहिए कि आपके लिए वो मील का पत्थर नहीं है, हमारे लिए है कि हम उसको आगे बढ़ाएंगे। लेकिन हम सरकार बना रहे हैं जी।
Okay. Mohan, quickly, and then I want to take last comments from Madhavan and Nalini and Maya, because we've got Mohandas Pai, Gurcharan Das also joining us to keep this conversation going. But Mohan, why are you Jashan manawing, bhai? You are still not the topper. You are not forming the government. You're not in play. Can we unmute Mohan? And Mohan, go ahead. Yeah.
देखिए, हम तो आम आदमी है, हम कोई भगवान के अवतार तो है नहीं। अब भगवान के अवतार को हम पूर्ण बहुमत से नीचे ले आए, इससे बड़ी चीज क्या हो सकती है हमारे लिए? हम तो आम आदमी है। तो देखिए उस तरीके से समझिए, हम छोटा सा तो जश्न मना रहे, मनाने दीजिए भैया, आप तो भगवान है। और 56 इंच अगर मानो 50 इंच की हो गई हो, तो इसमें भी थोड़ा हमें मजा आ रहा है, देने दीजिए ना, क्या जा रहा है आपको। और दूसरा, अश्विनी जी, मैं तो मतलब बहुत खुश हूँ आपसे कि मतलब अगर जीते तो मोदी जी के नाम पे जीते, और हारे तो आपकी गलती है। वाह अश्विनी जी, वाह, मजा आ गया अश्विनी। आपसे अच्छा कार्यकर्ता नहीं है भाई बीजेपी के लिए।
अश्विनी जी,
बधाई हो आपको।
अगर अभी बीजेपी का 300 पार होता तो आप तो मोदी फैक्टर बोल रहे होते, लेकिन कम है तो मोदी फैक्टर मानने के लिए तैयार नहीं है आप।
पार्टी का डेडिकेशन देखिए ना, ये हम दूसरी पार्टी की तरह थोड़े ही है। पार्टी का जो कार्यकर्ता है अपनी मोटरसाइकिल में अपना तेल डला के काम करता है। ये पार्टी हिंदू भारत में भारतीय जनता पार्टी के अंदर एक अनुशासन है। अगर मैंने कहा कि माननीय प्रधानमंत्री जी हमारे नेता हैं, उन्होंने हमको देखिए, अमीर गरीब अपनी जगह पे है।
पार्टी बोलेंगे बाइक पे जा रहे हैं।
अरे भाई
साहब, आप
अब देखिए,
फॉर्च्यूनर में जा रहे हैं, हम साइकिल में जा रहे हैं, यही असलियत चल रही है आजकल।
अच्छा ओके। अच्छा मोहन जी, अश्विनी जी,
एक लाइन आपके लिए, एक लाइन आपके लिए। भाई देखिए, ऐसा है कि 45,000 करोड़ की मालकिन सोनिया जी हैं, वो इटली से थोड़ी लाई थी, तो वो तो मालकिन है ही। अभी अखबार में मैं पढ़ रहा था एक दिन,
अच्छा गाइस,
मैं पढ़ रहा था जी।
अच्छा सुनिए, चुनाव खत्म हो गया, अभी थोड़ा रिलैक्स करें ऑन दिस चार्जेस एंड काउंटर चार्जेस. Let me, before I bring in Gurcharan and Mohan, let me just get quick last words from Maya, Madhavan, and Nalini and Dheeraj. Go ahead, Madhavan. Can't hear Madhavan. Yeah,
Hello.
I can. I can now. Yeah, I can. Yeah.
Very quick bullet point like observations. First of all, I'm not now naive enough to believe that the BJP was unaware of what was going on. They have the intelligence agencies. So midway through the campaign, Mr. Modi had already started saying NDA. So they know what's going on. Second thing is they have an 8,000 crore war chest from electoral bonds. So let's not write them off. And if Mr. Shahi's morale is any indication, this party is not going to give up so easily. So there's a lot of work cut out. But that brings me to Congress and what it can do. First is that the good news is that I want you all to point out to the chemistry between Akhilesh and Rahul that has been tremendous. One of the most unobserved things. But sadly, that chemistry doesn't extend to Mamata Banerjee or even Arvind Kejriwal. So there's a lot of hard work to be done within the UPA or India Alliance to do what they are.
Sure.
Now, last but not the least, let me look at Priyanka Gandhi. She has been already General Secretary of Uttar Pradesh, and my contention is that there is a chance that she might even become the president of the Congress party, because with a female face and they've got a huge problem to solve in Madhya Pradesh. It's a huge gaping hole in the heart of India. So they have a lot of things to do, both in the coalition level as well as internal party. So it's just they are living to fight another day. And officially, they have saved the constitution. But there's a lot of hard work ahead. And I have a feeling that they will do something more than what they've called in the past as introspection. They might experiment a bit more. And what is that's going to be is what we will observe. And that's all I want to say at this juncture. Yeah.
Thanks, Madhavan. We let you go now. Nalini, I think Madhavan makes the important point that okay, Mohan's allowed his evening of celebrations, but Madhavan is saying that actually the opposition has basically bought itself time. It's remained in play and it's contained Modi. It hasn't defeated Modi, right? And these are two very different things. Nalini, last thoughts?
Yes, I think Barkha, Madhavan is absolutely right. The opposition has just bought time. And I told you, it'll be a rare talent if they blow this up, if they blow up the next 5 years because of egos or whatever. So I agree there. I would also like to end by saying that the country wants a prime minister, not a priest. So Mr. Modi must understand that when the images are sent out of his priestly demeanor, it is not something which is giving too much confidence to the entire country, maybe to pockets, but I don't think it's working. And may I just make a couple of unconnected points? If you bring back Karnataka vote share, Do you know
Yeah.
the difference between the vote share of BJP and Congress? Do you know what the difference is?
Can we
Zero.
please have the Karnataka slide on the screen, please? Yes, Nalini, go ahead. Yeah.
It's 0.5%. And then there you are. It's
Yeah.
45.84 and 45.35. So
Yeah.
0.5%. And the number of seats is 17.09. So we should now look at what DK Shivkumar and Siddaramaiah was saying about how their the schemes are working. Something has happened in terms of the lumping or the clumping of these votes. But in terms of vote share, we'll have to appreciate that. And just a last comment I'd like to make is that in case of Orissa, I've talked to a lot of people from Odisha, and it's Mr. One Man did Biju Janata Dal, also Naveen Babu in, and that's Pandian. And it's not because he was kind of a disruptor, but just because the Orissa public fell for what the BJP was saying. Why is an outsider over here to take your vote? Aren't you people good enough? The last
Yeah.
thing is Tejasvi needs Nitish. Please, this is a health warning. Tejasvi needs Nitish because Tejasvi distributed tickets only to Yadav, and look where he is today. He needs the EBC that migrated to Nitish.
Well, Nalini, Nitish has changed so many times that none of us should be surprised if he changes again. I do want to bring in our guests again. Maya, very quickly, Dheeraj, very quickly, and then we have to come to Gurcharan and Mohan and all our other guests just joining in. Maya, go ahead.
Well, Barkha, I mean, I think I've said pretty much all that I have to say. I think we will be looking at the numbers and the data coming out of this election result more closely in the days to come. I mean, vote share is one. Why vote share has given a certain kind of result, a certain number of seats in one state versus another. To me, there's no, apart from the fact that the Indian voter doesn't like arrogance, I don't see any particular trend. I mean, Dheeraj pointed out in the beginning, Madhya Pradesh is a complete wipeout for the Congress, whereas UP, it's a different story. Rajasthan, it's a different story. So what is going on even within the Hindi belt? Where have they managed to retain their base or to create some buzz around them, the BJP, I mean, in the southern states, and how have they done that beyond Karnataka? I think these are all questions that will emerge.
Okay.
There were some very tight cases even in Kerala that we saw. But so I think we'll probably have many more occasions to analyze the data. But I think for today, what the Congress is saying about celebration is not so much the celebration of its defeat. It is about the fact that, as you said, when you titled the show, that the Modi juggernaut has been somewhat restrained and somewhat contained.
Okay, Maya, thank you. Dheeraj, do you have someone? Yeah, Dheeraj.
Very, very quickly, I think the Indian voter, in his and her wisdom, has put both alliances on notice. They want more. From Mr. Modi and the NDA, which are likely to form the government, there's clearly an expectation that they need to do better or they need to do things differently, whichever way you want to put it. And from Rahul Gandhi and the India Alliance, yes, we've now put you in a position to have a fighting chance at winning the next election, but you also need to perhaps up your game if you want us to vote you to power. So I think the voter has in its wisdom made an interesting decision by putting both sides of the spectrum under pressure to do more for the voter, which is what democracy is about.
Okay, thank you so much. I'll say bye at this point to Dheeraj, to Maya, and to Nalini Singh. I want to welcome Nizam Faujdar to the program as well. Mohan Kumaramangalam, Mohan Das Pai, and Gurcharan Das, Ashwini Shahi are with us. Mohan, as a sort of supporter of the Prime Minister, but sometimes critic as well when their policies annoy you. What do you make of what's happened?
Well, I think we have to look at two states in particular, UP and Maharashtra, to understand what happened. The rest of the country were along predictable lines. There were some shift here and there. UP was a big surprise. They're supposed to get 65, 67 seats. I think they're getting some 39 or whatever it is. And that is a big shift of 25, 27 seats. Even in Maharashtra, a shift of 20 seats. If you add up that 45, it comes to about 330 or so, which was a reasonable figure for them. So two states. Remember, Barkha, even in 2004, for the Vajpayee government, two states made a difference, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh, right? Babu lost the whole of Andhra Pradesh, there's 45 seats. And then even in Tamil Nadu, it shifted to the other party, and that didn't the government. It's not a vote for UPA, but these two states did it. So I think these two states, they have to see whether there is internal dissension in UP. They were the wrong choice of candidates, or maybe the party workers did not work for whatever reason, or there's an internal fight for supremacy within the BJP. In Maharashtra, of course, the fact that there were 5 parties or 4 parties and all that mess.
You believe the BJP has been sabotaged from within in Uttar Pradesh?
I don't know, because I'm really shocked. I mean, everybody is shocked because nobody could predict that this could happen. Yes, the opposition consolidated primarily because they all came together on one platform much more. But remember, if you look at the percentage of votes, I think in Uttar Pradesh, the BSP lost a big share, right? The BSP lost a big share in there, and they're 16%, they got 8%. That 8% went to the opposition. And I think that's a big point.
But the BSP's candidates were designed to actually help the BJP. It was meant to split the anti-BJP vote.
They went alone. And
with more Muslim candidates than any party, designed to split.
I think they have to analyze. The point I'm trying to make it, these are local events that happen, not national events across the board. Because remember, in Madhya Pradesh, they did it. Even in Karnataka, there has been the Congress did well in the north of Karnataka, in what is called the Kalyan Karnataka belt. 5 seats in Bangalore went to them. D.K. Shivkumar's brother lost. Okay, yes. He's a very powerful politician. He has spent enormous amount of money, much more than anybody could believe, but he lost. He lost to a good doctor who's done a great amount of work. So I think a lot of introspection. But to me, the message, there are 3 or 4 messages, Barkha. I'll just say.
By the way, the Prime Minister is at the BJP headquarters, and if anyone thought he might be demoralized today, those are not the images or the optics. He is having a bigger jashan than Mohan Kumaramangalam, who was saying that he was going to celebrate. Mohan Das Pai, do complete your point. I want to bring in Gurcharan Das and Nizam quickly because we'll have to cut to the Prime Minister. Yeah, go ahead, Mohan.
Barkha, this government has to focus on job creation. I think jobs are the number 1 priority for the entire country because we are in the midst of a youth bulge. The number of young people coming into the workforce for this decade and next decade is going to be enormous. Where the highest population growth happened in the previous 2 decades. And the 10 years of UP were a disaster to prepare for jobs. So I think that's important. Second is, people at the bottom of the pyramid have got the necessities of life. They want to see the income go. Aspirations are very high. They're not getting the income to meet their aspiration. So I would suggest that 10 crore women from families get 2,000 rupees a month as a grant, as a DBT program to immediately make a difference to their lives. Because people are impatient. They'll be tempted by this 8,500 rupees.
But do you think this government will be a different government from the one you've seen before? A more restrained government, a more checked in?
You see, Barkha, they have to respond to people's aspiration. In the next 5 years, you're not going to see a massive increase in income in the bottom 40-50%. There will be an increase in income. There's not going to be a massive income. When liberalization happens, growth happens, the educated people, the people are better prepared, get more income, and the divide is going to expand only in this country as we grow as an economy. So we have to push more money into this. And this year, because of the RBI big dividend, increase in dividend, and the fact that 2 lakh crores more money will come to the government, which can be used. They can still keep the money on infrastructure, still keep development, but use at least 2 lakh crores to meet the income at the bottom.
Okay, Gurcharan, just one second. Gurcharan Das, then I'll come to you, sir. Gurcharan, please do go ahead. Because I'm trying to get you all quickly, because if the Prime Minister starts speaking, I will have to cut across. I'm so sorry. Gurcharan, go ahead. Yeah.
Well, this has been a good day for democracy. And, during the campaign, I heard again and again from observers, particularly who had gone to UP, that there was an undercurrent of anxiety about jobs. And so really the lesson, I think, for the Prime Minister to learn from this election is it's not just confined to UP. There were other surveys which show the same thing. Jobs and to some extent prices, but with a good monsoon, the prices will come down, food prices. So the issue really, I totally agree with Mohan Das Pai, that the really one-pointed issue I would pursue is jobs. Now, how? It's very clear India has performed very well over the last 30 years since the reforms, with an average 6% growth. This is amazing for a democracy. But that 6% growth has not produced the jobs that it should have produced. And why? Because we have not created an industrial revolution. Manufacturing has failed us. And so the mantra really of all the Asian tigers who rose was the export of labor-intensive manufacturers. Our share of world exports in goods is less than 2%. Now, this is really a sense. I mean, it's.
When you say it's been a good day for democracy, do you mean that there has
I
been a
think we need
balance, a balance restored?
Yeah,
Is
I
it?
think we need we need an opposition, a
Yeah,
democracy, electoral democracy. It's a
yeah,
good day for electoral democracy because
yeah.
the other issues of liberal democracy are still
That's
there.
right. That's
So
right.
what I'm trying to say is that certainly the democracy is needed, and for that, I think today a lot of naysayers abroad who said, "Oh my God, this is another rigged election by another rigged." Uh,
Yeah.
uh,
The,
country.
the democracy naysayers today will see the
Yeah,
irrepressible
that's
nature,
right.
as it were, of India as an
So
electoral democracy.
it's a very reassuring verdict. But there has to be a lesson taken from it. And the
Yeah,
lesson is that people don't care, that there's a limited appeal of Hindutva, that it is people care about jobs. And jobs, we have to create an industrial revolution.
yeah,
And that will only come through heavy lifting and reforms. I mean, the markets today overreacted, but the point of the markets was that you need to do the reforms. Obviously, you need to sell the reforms, which Mr. Modi did not do. And so we still need to do those two crucial
yeah,
reforms that did
yeah.
not succeed.
Let
What
me,
I'm trying
sorry.
to say is,
Yeah.
you know, it's very clear that the government learned that there's a one-pointed agenda. If we're talking about 100 days, well, let's set that agenda in
Okay.
these 100 days.
Okay. Nizam Faujdar of the Karnataka Congress, before Mr. Modi speaks, let me just squeeze in a quick comment from you. Go ahead, sir.
No, I get a good chance before the Modi, so I think that's a good sign.
Okay. Go ahead.
And I just want to point out that when Mohandas Pai was saying that, the industry hasn't grown during the Congress's regime, he should understand his company, Infosys, did really well because of the kind of tax reform, tax rebates, and the support we gave to the company. He simply cannot deny. We gave him support, they give jobs to the people. So they simply cannot deny because they're standing with the other side of the fence.
Yeah.
So he should understand that. Let me also tell he
data.
says 2 lakh crores will come from the RBI. Let me also say that this is the only government which has fetched so much of dividends from the RBI and burned the money. It's the BJP government which took 280 lakh
How do
crores
you
of
how do you see the leads in the results in Karnataka, Nizam?
I think I think we were expecting about 14, 15 plus, these seats. Unfortunately, we have not got that number. But I think the number of vote that we have received is a fair number, and the BJP's vote share across the country has fallen. Let me also say that it's a mandate against the arrogance. It's a mandate against the pressure that everybody has in their daily life. It's a mandate against that. It's a mandate against that, my ego wala. I think it's that. And the third
Okay.
part is, the people want peace. The people want peace. They want calmness. They want happiness. They want a life that can simply go on and have a great life. They want a job. They want sasta khana. They want sasta petrol. They want a sasta, gas. ये 1000 पार कर देते हैं, 500 पार कर देते हैं, फिर इसके बाद में बोलते हैं कि मोदी साहब ने किया. So Modi has to take the responsibility that the price rise in the last
Okay.
10 years. It has been unprecedented. It has been so big that common man
Okay.
cannot match it. So
Let
Mr.
me let
Mohandas Pai, I like that. I like the kind of that smirk that Mohandas Pai has.
Let
The
me
kind
give
of
you
crores
data,
of
yeah.
rupees
No,
that
okay,
he's
okay,
got
okay.
in his bank
Okay, let him
is,
let
is given by is
Give
given
let
by
him
the
speak.
Congress
me
party.
data, man.
Oh God, that's a big leap.
So Barkha, when you came to Chanpatna, I still remember that I sat with you and spoke, right? I
Yeah.
think the Indian population and Indian people, जो हम कहते हैं ना भारतीयनेस, उसमें ना it needs to be nice. अभी ये जाके बोलोगे यार मैं तुम्हें ठोक डालूंगा, पेल डालूंगा, ये कर दूंगी, वो कर दूंगी, नहीं चलता है यार। बैंगलोर के जैसे आओ, यहाँ की मोहनदास भाई वहीं से आते हैं, किसी के साथ कार ठुक गई ना तो बोलते हैं, उतरते हैं, हाथ शेक करते हैं, भाई इट्स ओके लेट्स मूव ऑन। दैट्स द कल्चर ऑफ इंडिया, दैट्स द कल्चर ऑफ इंडिया। मोहनदास जी, कल मिलते हैं, विल शेक हैंड्स, बट वी विल गिव यू अ बेटर अपॉर्चुनिटी व्हेन वी कम इनटू पावर। अभी भी गेम बाकी है, पिक्चर बाकी है, और ये सुपर हिट पिक्चर कांग्रेस पार्टी और इंडिया अलायंस देगी। आप आराम से बैठिए 2-3 दिन, आराम से देखिए क्या क्या होने वाला है। इम्पॉसिबल इज पॉसिबल।
क्या होने वाला है निजाम? क्या होने वाला है?
अभी देखिएगा ना क्या क्या होने वाला है, कैसे कैसे होने वाला है। आज आखिरी भाषण देना है, देने दीजिए, मजा आएगा।
Are you suggesting कि सरकार किसी और की बनने वाली है?
हो सकता है।
अच्छा, अश्विनी जी बोलना चाह रही हैं that Mr. Modi is applauding. I really do have to cut across to him in a moment.
He's clapping for my comment.
गालिब नहीं, मैं कह रहा हूँ भाई,
I love it.
एक्चुअली गालिब ने आपके जो इन मर्म जो है, ये अंदर से जो फीलिंग्स आपकी निकल रही है, इसको बहुत पहले समझ लिया था, तो दिल को बहलाने के लिए गालिब ये भी ख्याल अच्छा है, दिल को बहलाने के लिए गालिब ये भी ख्याल अच्छा है। तो अभी क्या क्या होता है देखिए, सरकार बनाने की, एनडीए चुनाव जीता और क्या क्या होता है देखिए। और भारतीय जनता पार्टी पर यही लोग आरोप लगाते हैं कि भाई संविधान की हत्या हो गई, वहां सरकार गिरा दिया, ऑपरेशन लोटस चला दिया, और यहाँ कह रहे हैं खुलेआम क्या क्या होता है। देखिए आखिरी बात और देने दीजिए भाई, देखिए। और अभी एक मोहतरमा जो है नीलिमा जी, बड़ी वेटरन पत्रकार हैं, उन्होंने बोला कि प्रीस्ट नहीं चाहिए, हाँ हमको वो प्रधानमंत्री चाहिए जिसके ऊपर एक सलाहकार समिति की अध्यक्षा बनाई जाती है, वो हाथ मिलाने के लिए सबके आगे वो रहती है, प्रधानमंत्री हमारा पीछे खड़ा रहता है, वो प्रधानमंत्री देश को चाहिए। वो नहीं चाहिए जो गर्व से आगे रहे, वो नहीं चाहिए कि जो बंधक रखा हुआ सोना वापस लेकर आए, जो हिंदुस्तान को जो है अच्छी जीडीपी से आगे बढ़ाए, वो नहीं चाहिए जो 37 किलोमीटर रोड बनाए, वो नहीं चाहिए जो बालाकोट में घुसकर मारे, वो नहीं चाहिए जिसके 10 में अभिनंदन वापस आए, वो नहीं चाहिए। तो होता है भाई, अपने अपने विचार हैं, और क्या होना है अभी तो मैं देखता हूँ। लेकिन मैं फिर से चैलेंज करता हूँ यहाँ कि सरकार हम बनाने जा रहे हैं, बाकी अपना जो करना है भाई, हर आदमी व्यवस्था करता ही है, हर जो है बड़े बड़े जानवर, आदमी, कीड़े मकोड़े, हर आदमी प्रयास करता है अपना झोपड़ा बनाने के लिए, तो कांग्रेस भी करे, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है उसमें।
Mohan Kumaramanglam, you were wanting to come in, and then I'll take last comments from Gurcharan and Mohandas Pai. Mohan Kumaramanglam, yes.
Well, first let me say I'm really happy to hear Mohandas Pai talk about job creation, because I've heard him on other shows using even EPFO data to justify the fact that we have enough jobs. So I'm glad that he's finally seen the light.
He's trying.
Low-paying jobs, please. I stand by my statement.
You don't want high-paying jobs? Is he saying that you don't want middle-paying jobs?
1.6 crore people join EPFO, but the salary, the 80% of salary they get is less than 20,000 rupees a month. That is the problem. We have to increase it, and we have to create better-paying jobs and more jobs.
I'll not get into an EPFO data, argument, because that's a whole other show in itself.
Yeah.
As far as what Gurcharan Das ji said, I agree with him completely. This is a great day for democracy, and if the message that he's also seeing is that there is a need for jobs, then I'm glad that everybody on the panel agrees with that, because that's one thing that the Congress party has been talking about ad nauseum for the last 3 years. अश्विनी जी को मैं कहना चाहूंगा, आपने तो बहुत चीजें कही, उन सब का जवाब देने की जरूरत नहीं है। मैं तो बस ये कहूंगा कि आपके ही प्रधानमंत्री ने कहा था कि ये 2 लड़कों की फ्लॉप फिल्म पहले भी हम देख चुके हैं, कहा था ना, तभी मैंने कहा था आपको शोले भी पहली बारी जब निकली थी फ्लॉप हुई थी, और फिर क्या हुआ, इतिहास रच गई ना। तो देखिए, आपने क्या कहा था, 370 ले आए हम, राम मंदिर ले आए हम, अयोध्या में ही हार गए हम, राम लल्ला का भी आशीर्वाद नहीं मिला आपको, तो आप किसके बारे में बात करने जा रहे हैं? See, beyond this, I don't want to talk, because frankly, चुनाव तो खत्म हो चुका है, So there is no
Yes.
point making political arguments right now. इनको
Correct.
मंथन करना चाहिए कि भाई despite Ram Mandir, despite 370, despite double engine of Yogi and Modi, why they've taken such a beating in Uttar Pradesh.
या अश्विनी जी इस पे जरूर कुछ बोलना चाहेंगे संक्षेप में, तो बोलिए प्लीज।
देखिए बरखा जी, कुल फिर वही बात आती है कि फिल्म फ्लॉप तो हुई या कौन सी पिक्चर आप लोगों ने हिट, दो लड़कों की जोड़ी ने हिट कर दिया है। हाँ, अपनी जो संख्या थी उसको बढ़ा दिया है। ये
आपकी
हिट नहीं हुई।
संख्या, आपकी संख्या को आधा कर दिया सर।
कहाँ आधा कर दिया?
उत्तर प्रदेश
240
की नहीं, उत्तर प्रदेश की
अब आप सिर्फ उत्तर प्रदेश में आएंगी तो देखिए, उत्तर प्रदेश हम ऐसा नहीं है कि 40 से ऊपर कभी कोई गया नहीं है। भारतीय जनता पार्टी ही है जो गई है, और कांग्रेस राजीव जी के समय में गई होगी उसका मैं बात नहीं कर रहा हूं, लेकिन न समाजवादी पार्टी और न बहुजन समाजवादी पार्टी। हम 72 से सीट भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने दिया था, 62 सीट भी भारतीय जनता पार्टी ने दिया था, और आज भी 40 नहीं छू पा रही है जो क्या नाम है समाजवादी पार्टी। तो कांग्रेस कहा थोड़ा सा एक सांस ऑक्सीजन मिल गया कांग्रेस को, 5-6 सीट मिल जाएगी, उनको भी आगे कुछ बढ़े है, उसका जश्न वो मना लें। लेकिन ये कह दे कि हमने इतिहास रच दिया, हमने जो है फिल्म हिट करा दी, कोई मतलब नहीं है। फाइनली गवर्नमेंट बन रही है और अभी चंद्रबाबू नायडू की बधाई भी आ गई
जी।
अब आप बताइए कि वो आप लोग उनके ऊपर भी कह रहे हैं।
मैं तो
और आपने अभी बरखा जी आपने अभी कहा था नीतीश बाबू के ऊपर कि उनका पहले भी वो रहा है। तो देखिए, हमारा पोस्ट पोल अलायंस नहीं है, प्री पोल अलायंस था, और
नहीं,
वो
लेकिन
अभी भी मजबूत रहेगा।
नीतीश जी मजबूत किसी साइड नहीं रहते, सॉरी विद नो ऑफेंस। ये तो आज मानना ही पड़ेगा। मोहन
really quickly, मैं सिर्फ वही लॉजिक दूंगा जो अश्विनी जी ने कई बार दिया है बाकी सिचुएशंस में, कि हम किसी को न्योता नहीं देंगे। जो लोग नाराज है आपसे वो खुद ही चले आएंगे अश्विनी जी, बस यही कहूंगा।
चलिए गुरचरण, the larger takeaway. We've spoken about Modi, but where does this leave the brand Modi? What does the Modi? Because I do believe that I do believe that the Prime Minister is going to be the Prime Minister for the third time, but it's not going to be the same government as before. It's not going to be the same wielding of power as before.
I'm not really a good judge to give an answer to this. I'm not a political analyst, but I look at the next generation. The politician looks at tomorrow and this election. And let me just say, as an observer, I feel that it's no government since 91 has succeeded in creating that industrial revolution, which is absolutely necessary. So the point I'm trying to make is, and I'm so glad that Chandrababu Naidu got elected, because he's a true reformer. And I'm also glad that he can put some moral pressure, I hope, on Mr. Modi as an important alliance partner. And really we need to, as a country, let's take it out of the tutu mama of politics, and let us say that as a country, this is the job we need to do. And it will need reforms. This is not the place to talk about all the things that are needed to get there. But clearly, this is the message that the government should take now. Whichever government comes to power, that is the message they should take, that there is a one-point agenda for the country.
Mohandas Pai, closing thoughts?
Barkha, what is very clear is the people of India have clearly said they are the source of power for political parties. The political leaders are not their masters, they are representatives. And if political leaders believe they're a master, being in a family or being a superstar of any political party, they're not going to accept it. They've done it time and again across our last 75 years of the Republic. And they demonstrated again what power they wield, and they want them to behave properly, whichever way. Every time you see them, becoming, let us say, more powerful, or becoming, let's say, more removed from what they want. There was a sense of arrogance in many of the ministers in the government. And I think the touch with people for this government was lost. I do wish Prime Minister Modi will ask every minister to have 5 or 6 people work with the minister to seek their advice. Because I've seen many of the ministers when I speak to them, especially the finance minister, you're treated with utmost contempt. You're not listened to. For example, I've gone many times to talk about this angel tax issue for startup because the young people deserve a better treatment. And the number of amendments brought to the Income Tax Act, the power given to regulatory agencies to harass people without an end in sight, has hurt business climate. 50,000 HNIs have left this country in the last 10 years and gone away, not because people object to the enforcement of law, but there's no justice. If somebody files a case against you, it takes 20 years, you are dead. The courts don't work, there's no justice. And when regulatory agencies are the free thing to do whatever they want with political interference, we have a problem. I hope all the mistakes are done. So people have said, you are our representatives, we want you to work for us. Please do a good job. Please make sure we grow. Please make sure the income of everybody grows, and we'll support you. And I think it's fantastic. It's a great day to celebrate.
Okay. You have, of course, made your point about Nirmala Sitharaman there. I'm going to have to say thank you to all of you because the Prime Minister has started speaking. Sorry, Nizam, I know you wanted to get a word in, but Mohan, to Mohandas Pai, Mohan Kumaramangalam, Gurcharan, Nizam, Ashwini Shahi, thank you. And we'll cut across now to the BJP headquarters where Prime Minister Modi, after tweeting his first public response, is meeting with BJP workers. Let's go across and listen to what he's saying. Can we have the sound up, please?
भारत माता की, भारत माता की, जय जगन्नाथ, जय जगन्नाथ। आपका ये स्नेह, आपका ये प्यार, इस आशीर्वाद के लिए मैं सभी देशवासियों का ऋणी हूं। आज बड़ा मंगल है और इस पावन दिन एनडीए की लगातार तीसरी बार सरकार बननी तय है। हम सभी जनता जनार्दन के बहुत आभारी हैं। देशवासियों ने भाजपा पर, एनडीए पर पूर्ण विश्वास जताया है। आज की ये विजय दुनिया के सबसे बड़े लोकतंत्र की जीत है। ये भारत के संविधान पर अटूट निष्ठा की जीत है। ये विकसित भारत के प्रण की जीत है। ये सबका साथ, सबका विकास, इस मंत्र की जीत है। ये 140 करोड़ भारतीयों की जीत है। भाइयों और बहनों, मैं आज देश के चुनाव आयोग का भी अभिनंदन करूंगा। चुनाव आयोग ने दुनिया का सबसे बड़ा चुनाव इतनी कुशलता के साथ संपन्न कराया। करीब 100 करोड़ मतदाता, 11 लाख पोलिंग स्टेशन, 1.5 करोड़ मतदान कर्मी, 55 लाख वोटिंग मशीनें, हर कर्मचारी ने इतनी प्रचंड गर्मी में अपने दायित्व को बखूबी निभाया। हमारे सुरक्षा कर्मियों ने अपने कर्तव्य भाव का शानदार परिचय दिया। भारत के चुनाव प्रोसेस, चुनाव के इस पूरे सिस्टम और चुनाव प्रक्रिया की क्रेडिबिलिटी पर हर भारतीय को गर्व है। इस स्केल पर चुनाव का, इस एफिशिएंसी के साथ चुनाव का दुनिया में कहीं कोई उदाहरण नहीं है। और मैं देशवासियों को कहूंगा, मैं इन्फ्लुएंसर्स को कहूंगा, मैं ओपिनियन मेकर्स को कहूंगा कि भारत की लोकतंत्र में ये चुनावी प्रक्रिया की ताकत है, एफिशिएंसी है। ये अपने आप में बहुत बड़ा गौरव का विषय है। भारत की पहचान को चार चांद लगाने वाली बात है। और ऐसे जो भी लोग हैं जो दुनिया में अपनी बात पहुंचा सकते हैं, उन सबसे मैं आग्रह करूंगा कि भारत के लोकतंत्र के इस सामर्थ्य को विश्व के सामने बड़े गर्व के साथ हमें प्रस्तुत करना चाहिए। इस बार भी भारत में जितने लोगों ने मतदान किया, वो अनेक बड़े लोकतांत्रिक देशों की कुल आबादी से भी ज्यादा है। जम्मू कश्मीर के मतदाताओं ने इस चुनाव में रिकॉर्ड वोटिंग कर अभूतपूर्व उत्साह दिखाया है और दुनिया भर में भारत को बदनाम करने वाली जो ताकतें हैं, उनको आईना दिखा दिया है। मैं देश के हर मतदाता को, जनता जनार्दन को विजय के इस पावन पर्व पर आदरपूर्वक नमन करता हूं। मैं देश भर के सभी दलों, सभी उम्मीदवारों का भी अभिनंदन करता हूं। सभी की सक्रिय भागीदारी के बिना लोकतंत्र की ये विराट सफलता संभव नहीं थी। भाजपा के, एनडीए के हर कार्यकर्ता साथी को भी मैं हृदय से धन्यवाद करता हूं। साथियों, इस चुनाव के, इस जनादेश के कई पहलू हैं। 1962 के बाद पहली बार कोई सरकार अपने 2 कार्यकाल पूरे करने के बाद तीसरी बार वापस आई है। राज्यों में जहां भी विधानसभा के चुनाव हुए, वहां पर एनडीए को भव्य विजय मिली है। चाहे वो अरुणाचल प्रदेश हो, आंध्र प्रदेश हो, उड़ीसा हो या फिर सिक्किम। और इन राज्यों में कांग्रेस का सुपड़ा साफ हो गया है। मेरे पास डिटेल तो नहीं है, लेकिन शायद उनको जमानत बचाना भी मुश्किल हो गया होगा। भाजपा उड़ीसा में सरकार बनाने जा रही है और लोकसभा चुनाव में भी उड़ीसा ने बेहतरीन प्रदर्शन किया है। ये पहली बार होगा जब महाप्रभु जगन्नाथ की धरती पर बीजेपी का मुख्यमंत्री होगा। बीजेपी ने केरला में भी सीट जीती है। हमारे केरल के कार्यकर्ताओं ने बहुत बलिदान दिए हैं। कई पीढ़ियों से वो संघर्ष भी करते रहे, जन सामान्य की सेवा भी करते रहे और पीढ़ियों से, मैं सालों से नहीं कह रहा हूं, पीढ़ियों से जिस क्षण का इंतजार किया वो आज सफलता को चूमने लगी है। तेलंगाना में हमारी संख्या दोगुना हो गई है। मध्य प्रदेश, गुजरात, छत्तीसगढ़, दिल्ली, उत्तराखंड, हिमाचल, ऐसे कई राज्यों में हमारी पार्टी ने लगभग क्लीन स्वीप किया है। मैं इन सभी राज्यों और अरुणाचल प्रदेश, ओडिशा, आंध्र प्रदेश और सिक्किम विधानसभा के मतदाताओं का भी विशेष आभार व्यक्त करता हूं। मैं इन राज्यों की जनता को विश्वास दिलाता हूं कि केंद्र सरकार आपके विकास के लिए कोई कोर कसर बाकी नहीं छोड़ेगी। आंध्र प्रदेश में चंद्रबाबू नायडू जी के नेतृत्व में एनडीए ने शानदार प्रदर्शन किया है। बिहार में नीतीश बाबू के नेतृत्व में भी एनडीए ने शानदार प्रदर्शन किया है। साथियों, 10 वर्ष पहले देश ने बदलाव के लिए जनादेश दिया था। तब देश ने हमें, क्योंकि वो समय था देश निराशा की गर्त में डूब चुका था। 2013-14 का कालखंड देखिए, देश निराशा की गर्त में डूब चुका था। फ्रेजाइल 5 शब्दों से मैं नवाजा जाता था। हर दिन अखबारों की हेडलाइन घोटालों से भरी रहती थी। देश की युवा पीढ़ी अपने भविष्य के संबंध में आशंकित हो गई थी। ऐसे समय देश ने हमें निराशा के गहरे सागर से आशा के मोती निकालने का जिम्मा सौंपा था। हम सभी ने पूरी ईमानदारी से प्रयास किया, काम किया। 2019 में इसी प्रयास पर विश्वास व्यक्त करते हुए देश ने दोबारा प्रचंड जनादेश दिया। इसके बाद एनडीए का दूसरा कार्यकाल विकास और विरासत की गारंटी बन गया। 2024 में इसी गारंटी के साथ हम जन जन का आशीर्वाद लेने देश के कोने कोने में गए। आज तीसरी बार जो आशीर्वाद एनडीए को मिला है, मैं इसके सामने, जनता जनार्दन के सामने विनय भाव से नतमस्तक हूं। साथियों, आज का यह पल निजी तौर पर मेरे लिए भी भावुक करने वाला पल है। मेरी मां के जाने के बाद ये मेरा पहला चुनाव था, लेकिन सच मानिए, देश की कोटि कोटि माताओं, बहनों, बेटियों ने मां की कमी मुझे खलने नहीं दी। मैं पूरे देश में जहां जहां भी गया, माताओं, बहनों, बेटियों ने अभूतपूर्व स्नेह और आशीर्वाद दिया। और यह आंकड़ों में नहीं दिख सकता है। देश के इतिहास में महिलाओं द्वारा वोटिंग के सारे रिकॉर्ड टूट गए। इस प्यार, इस अपनेपन को मैं शब्दों में बयान नहीं कर सकता। ये मेरे भावों में है। ये मेरे मन मस्तिष्क के कोने कोने में रचा बसा है। देश की कोटि कोटि माताओं, बहनों ने मुझे नई प्रेरणा दी है। साथियों, पिछले 10 साल में देश ने बहुत बड़े फैसले लिए हैं। राष्ट्र प्रथम की भावना हमें असामान्य लक्ष्य हासिल करने का हौसला देती है। ये हम में कुछ कर गुजरने की इच्छा शक्ति उत्पन्न करती है। हमने दुनिया की सबसे बड़ी जन कल्याणकारी योजनाएं चलाई। आजादी के 70 साल बाद 12 करोड़ लोगों को नल से जल मिला। आजादी के 70 साल बाद 4 करोड़ गरीबों को पक्के घर मिले। देश के 80 करोड़ जरूरतमंदों को मुफ्त राशन की सुविधा मिली। करोड़ों गरीबों को 5 लाख रुपए तक के मुफ्त इलाज की सुविधा मिली। राष्ट्र प्रथम की इसी भावना की वजह से जम्मू कश्मीर से 370 हटी। जीएसटी और आईबीसी जैसे रिफॉर्म हुए, बैंकिंग रिफॉर्म हुए। हमने राष्ट्रहित को हमेशा सबसे आगे रखा। आप याद करिए, कोरोना का इतना बड़ा संकट आया, हमने वही फैसला लिया जो देश हित में था, जनहित में था। हमने हर दबाव से अलग हटकर कदम उठाया और इसी का नतीजा है आज भारत दुनिया की सबसे तेजी से विकसित होती बड़ी इकोनॉमी है। राष्ट्र प्रथम की यही भावना भारत को आत्मनिर्भर बनाएगी। साथियों, हमारे सामने एक महान संकल्प है, विकसित भारत का संकल्प। 10 साल के बाद लगातार तीसरी बार जनता जनार्दन का प्यार, उनका आशीर्वाद हमारा हौसला बढ़ाता है, हमारे संकल्प को नई मजबूती देता है, नई ऊर्जा देता है। हमारे विरोधी एकजुट होकर भी उतनी सीटें नहीं जीत पाए जितनी इस लोकसभा चुनाव में अकेली बीजेपी ने जीती है। मैं देश के कोने कोने में उपस्थित बीजेपी के कार्यकर्ताओं को कहूंगा, देशवासियों को कहूंगा, आपकी मेहनत, इतनी गर्मी में आपका बहाया पसीना, ये मोदी को निरंतर काम करने की प्रेरणा देता है। और मैं देशवासियों का दोबारा दोहराना चाहता हूं, अगर आप 10 घंटे काम करेंगे तो मोदी 18 घंटे काम करेगा। आप 2 कदम चलेंगे तो मोदी 4 कदम चलेगा। हम भारतीय मिलकर चलेंगे, देश को आगे बढ़ाएंगे। तीसरे कार्यकाल में देश बड़े फैसलों का एक नया अध्याय लिखेगा। और ये मोदी की गारंटी है। साथियों, एनडीए सरकार की प्रतिबद्धता हमेशा ही समाज के हर क्षेत्र और हर वर्ग के विकास की रही है। बीते 10 वर्षों में हमने 25 करोड़ लोगों को गरीबी से बाहर निकाला है, और इसमें एक बड़ी संख्या एसटी, एसटी, ओबीसी की है। हम तब तक नहीं रुकेंगे जब तक गरीबी देश के अतीत का हिस्सा न हो जाए। वुमेन लेड डेवलपमेंट हमारी सरकार के गवर्नेंस मॉडल के केंद्र में रहा है। स्पोर्ट्स से स्पेस और एंटरप्रेन्योरशिप तक हम हर क्षेत्र में माताओं, बहनों, बेटियों को नए अवसर देने के लिए काम करेंगे। बीते 10 वर्षों में आपने देखा है, हमने मेडिकल कॉलेज की संख्या 2 गुनी की है, एम्स की संख्या 3 गुनी की है, स्वरोजगार और स्टार्टअप में ऐतिहासिक बढ़ोतरी हुई है। हमने भारत को दुनिया का दूसरा सबसे बड़ा मोबाइल मैन्युफैक्चर बनाया है। अब इलेक्ट्रॉनिक्स, सेमीकंडक्टर और ऐसे नए सेक्टर्स में और तेजी से काम किया जाएगा। हमने देश के डिफेंस प्रोडक्शन और एक्सपोर्ट को बढ़ाने का प्रयास किया है। हम तब तक नहीं रुकेंगे जब तक देश का डिफेंस सेक्टर आत्मनिर्भर नहीं बन जाता। हम अपने युवाओं को शिक्षा, रोजगार, स्वरोजगार हर क्षेत्र में सशक्त करेंगे। किसानों के लिए बीज से बाजार तक आधुनिक नीतियों को बनाने का काम और प्राथमिकता पर होगा। दलहन से लेकर खाद्य तेल तक हम हमारे किसानों को हर क्षेत्र में आत्मनिर्भर बनाने के लिए काम करते रहेंगे। साथियों, आने वाला समय ग्रीन एरा है, हरित युग का है। आज भी हमारी सरकार की नीतियां प्रगति, प्रकृति और संस्कृति के समागम की है। हम ग्रीन इंडस्ट्रियलाइजेशन पर निवेश बढ़ाएंगे। ग्रीन एनर्जी हो या फिर ग्रीन मोबिलिटी, हम भारत को सबसे आगे ले जाएंगे। भारत को दुनिया की तीसरी बड़ी इकोनॉमी बनाने के लिए एनडीए सरकार पूरी शक्ति से काम करेगी। भाई और बहनों, आज का भारत वैश्विक समाधान का हिस्सा भी बन रहा है। हमने कोरोना के दौरान देखा है कि कैसे भारत की वैक्सीन कैपेसिटी ने दुनिया को संकट से बचाने में मदद की। हमारे चंद्रयान ने चंद्रमा के साउथ पोल पर लैंडिंग करके स्पेस एक्सप्लोरेशन के नए रास्ते खोले हैं। क्लाइमेट चेंज से लेकर फूड सिक्योरिटी तक जो भी विषय दुनिया के सामने है, भारत उनके लिए काम करना अपनी जिम्मेदारी समझता है। भारत ग्लोबल सप्लाई चेन को स्टेबिलिटी और डायवर्सिटी देना भी अपना दायित्व समझता है। इसलिए भारत आज विश्व बंधु के रूप में सबको गले लगा रहा है। मुझे विश्वास है, मजबूत भारत मजबूत दुनिया का एक मजबूत स्तंभ सिद्ध होगा। साथियों, 21वीं सदी के भारत को आगे बढ़ना है तो उसे करप्शन पर भी लगातार तेज प्रहार करना ही होगा। डिजिटल इंडिया और टेक्नोलॉजी ने करप्शन के अनेक रास्ते बंद किए हैं, लेकिन ये भी सच है कि करप्शन के खिलाफ लड़ाई दिनों दिन कठिन हो रही है। राजनीतिक स्वार्थ के लिए जब करप्शन का महिमा मंडन शुरू हो जाए और इसमें निर्लज्जता की सारी हदें पार हो जाए, तब करप्शन को बहुत ताकत मिल जाती है। इसलिए तीसरे कार्यकाल में एनडीए सरकार का बहुत ज्यादा जोर हर तरह के करप्शन को जड़ से उखाड़ फेंकने का होगा। भाई और बहनों, भाजपा के हर
The Prime Minister is delivering his victory speech at the BJP headquarters. It is streaming separately live on our platform where you can watch it in full. Remember, this is a day when, yes, indeed, Narendra Modi is making history by securing a third term as the leader of the NDA alliance. And it was interesting to hear him mention not a BJP government, but an NDA government in his third term. But the debate is wide open as to what Modi 3.0 would look like on a day when the BJP has basically fallen below the majority mark and the NDA has fallen below the 300 mark. Will Modi be diminished even in victory? Where does this leave the opposition? Let's introduce our panel of special guests as we continue our analysis of these dramatic election results. Tripurdaman Singh, historian and author, is with us. Welcome to the program. Abhijit Iyer Mitra, analyst and columnist, senior fellow at the IPCS, is with us. Namaskar and welcome to the program. Lavanya Bilal Jain, leader of the Congress, is with us. Good to see you, Lavanya. And also joining us is Shrikant Karunesh, leader of the BJP. Welcome, everybody. And we'll continue to play those shots of the Prime Minister at the BJP headquarters. His speech is streaming live separately on our platform as well. We've been listening to him very carefully. And I just want to spend the next few minutes talking about what we think this moment signifies. Shrikantji, you're a leader of the BJP. How disappointed are you both with what happened in Tamil Nadu, where definitely you had hoped for a better vote percentage, even if not seats, and what has happened nationally? It is a moment of victory, and yet it is a bittersweet moment because the BJP has fallen below the majority. Shrikantji.
Yeah, I do totally agree with you because the facts have to be accepted because ultimately people's verdict is final, and whatever we predict, we imagine, we work for, that is different. And it's a victorious defeat for Congress, and it's ulta for us. What else I can say?
That's quite honest and gracious of you, is what I would say.
Yeah. And one more thing.
Yes.
I see the politics of Tamil Nadu and pan India politics totally different. Why? Because here in Tamil Nadu, it's based on race, language. It's a linguistic politics, and people talk about Dravida, Arya culture, everything. All those stuffs are there. So here in Tamil Nadu, we have to start from scratch. In fact, from minus we have to develop, because the BJP did not have any space in our politics, because people were reluctant to accept any nationalistic party other than Congress, because they are there from the time of independence. Otherwise, people vote for only local party here in Tamil Nadu. And we in this election were very particular, very careful that we have to mark our presence in the political scenario here. Our leader, Mr. Annamalai, was working towards that, and we have quite succeeded in that. If at all we have aimed at winning seats, we would have taken all these arithmetic equations.
But you can see the vote share on the screen that the BJP got in Tamil Nadu. It was less than what you had hoped for. I remember when I met with Mr. Annamalai, I said, what would you constitute as success? And he said 20% vote share. You're at a little over 10%, almost close to 11%. Are you satisfied?
No, actually, the thing is, when a person is starting from minus, this is
a
very good.
It's a significant increase from 4% to 10%, but it did not translate into seats.
Yeah. It cannot be translated into seat, and you see the percentage of votes what Congress has received, and we are more than Congress here, and that's what we are seeing it here. From
That's
nowhere,
true.
we are somewhere here, and that was the aim and objective of Bharatiya Janata Party Tamil Nadu, to ensure that we are winning quite a number of percentage here. That is why we didn't join any alliance. There was a scope and space for us to talk to AIDMK and then have alliance with them. They have secured around 20+%. But before that, we wanted to ascertain where are we standing, what are our strength and weaknesses. We wanted to evaluate that, and we have successfully done it now, and we can do it only in this parliament election. And we are focused on 26th election. BJP Tamil Nadu is focusing on 26th election, and we have to work a long way for that. And this has given us plenty of experience, lessons, good and bad. We have learned in this. And when there's the question of national politics, And it's very clear, very clear. The thing is, other day also I was telling you, we were very strong in west and north, and we have been concentrating more on south and east, right from West Bengal to down south here, Tamil Nadu, Kerala, Karnataka. This belt we were concentrating a lot, and हम लोग कुछ lethargic हो गए क्या मालूम नहीं है, but more in the area of west, and then and this northern side, no, because for an example, UP, neither Bharatiya Janata Party nor any cephalogist, nobody predicted that we will be losing so many seats there. In fact, the I think in Ayodhya also we missed. I don't have the data of
Yes. Ayodhya was lost by the BJP.
lost. So this we have not predicted. It has gone. Some undercurrent was there. People's mindset was something different. Where it went wrong, a lot of senior leaders are there. They have to think over it. See, I'm practically talking, not as a spokesperson of Bharatiya Janata Party. So we have to learn from all this and then do it. I'm very much grateful to the public. People have voted us as a single largest party. Our alliance has got enough majority to form the government. That and all is very quiet. But the thing is, the aim, the target we had, where we are working, so that level we didn't reach. So that is really a point of concern for us.
Yeah,
to think over it and
I,
for it.
I just want to thank you for being very candid and very open about your feelings right now. Lavanya, I reverse the question to you. I see Shruti on the screen as well. Welcome back, Shruti. The Congress is celebrating, but the BJP, some BJP leaders, not Shrikant Karuneshji, but others have said, why are you celebrating? Government to hamari hai. We are the ones forming the government. Now, you may have halted the pace of the Modi juggernaut, but he's still the next prime minister. He has said that on Twitter. He's at the moment meeting BJP workers at the BJP headquarters. What is of the greatest satisfaction to you today as a Congress leader?
Good evening, Barkha. First of all, he's not sworn in as a prime minister for the third term yet. He has allies as well. And things can change at any moment in Indian politics, or in politics at any moment, right? So we will declare him as a prime minister once he's sworn in as a prime minister for the third time. Yes, they are the single largest party at this point of time. What are we celebrating? We are celebrating the fact that despite a very inefficient election commission, despite a huge amount of media being against the India alliance, despite our leaders being arrested, despite our bank accounts being frozen, despite the divisive speeches being made, including by the Prime Minister, we have got good numbers. We are proud of Indian voters today. We are happy that the rural Indian voters have spoken up and said what they want and what they are focused on. This is a huge success for Indian democracy, and that is what we are celebrating. What happened to 400 Par? What happened to this claim of, hey, we are going to claim West Bengal, we are going to get double digits in Tamil Nadu? In fact, we had a huge, theatrics by the Prime Minister. For 2 days, he put a full stop to fisheries and the tourism department in Kanyakumari, and he went on meditation there, right? Where are the double digits? When BJP speaks, everybody says, oh, he said it on Twitter. Yes, he said it. He says a lot of things. Today, in fact, the Prime Minister says, Hum Bharatiya milkar chalenge. It was not his words a few days ago, Barkha. We have seen what he's been speaking about fellow Indians. They may be from a minority religion, they may not be from the majority religion, but we have seen how the Prime Minister has addressed fellow Indians. They're all citizens. They all have equal rights as you and I do. But we have seen how he has addressed them. And today, at this point of time, Prime Minister forgets all of that. And he says, hey, you know what? We are going to work together. We would love to see that. Of course, we would love to see our Prime Minister making sure everyone is treated equally as per his, the constitutional rights. We would love to see that.
Let me pick up a couple of your points and take them to Shrikant Karunesh of the BJP before I open this up. Shrikantji, some difference in language, as Lavanya pointed out. Hum Bharatiya milke chalenge. This I also noticed in the Prime Minister's speech, so I actually made a note of it here. Then the fact that he referred to the government, the next government, Lavanya is correct technically in saying that it hasn't been sworn in yet, but let's assume that there's the next government, as an NDA government. He didn't say BJP government, he said NDA government. So there is already some acknowledgement of shifts, and there has to be. The numbers dictate their own reality. Would you concede that, Srikanji?
True, true. Actually, the thing is why Congress is celebrating is because it's an unexpected victory for them in some places. Because like UP and all, no, they didn't even expect such a
scale
amount of seats in UP and some selective places. So they didn't even expect so much. Obviously, they will celebrate, but nothing to celebrate to form the government. And one more thing, she says we have not formed the government. We have enough majority to form the government. Because other than that, if Congress is challenging, means they are planning to do some horse trading. So nothing else they can do. And moreover, this time, if you see the selected others are just 18 people are there in the others. Because this time Mayawati didn't perform, Jagan Mohan ji, he didn't perform. Others votes are very, very little seats are there left with others. So
no, maybe they're hoping, maybe they're maybe they think Mr. Nitish Kumar will palto again.
Why so cruel? The person who formed the India Alliance had come to us. So I don't expect such a change.
I mean, I'm only partly joking. Yes, Lavanya. Yes.
Since my fellow spokesperson got 7 minutes of screen time, Barkha, I've been
Lavanya.
Him. He went on a monologue of 7 minutes.
Oh, Lavanya, this is not one of those TV debates.
One more thing I want to tell Madam Lavanya, because why Prime Minister is talking now, hum Bharatiya milke chalenge, because Congress this time very clearly, see in UP they wanted Yadava vote. In Haryana, Rajasthan they were securing Jhat ka, they were concentrating on that. And minority appeasement, obviously, it was there. And even in
okay, Srikanji, sorry, I'm interrupting you. I'm interrupting you now. I'm going to get Lavanya to respond. Lavanya, please don't now time everybody. We are a very relaxed program. We are not one of those TV debates. Go ahead. Go ahead and make your point. Go ahead and make your point.
This is not a monologue. I'm perfectly fine. So
go ahead and make your point.
Was talking about horse trading, so that is not something that we indulge in. Entire India knows about horse trading, or the Operation Kamala, as we call it down south, by the BJP. But all I would like to say is, we fought a fight very well, and you may mock as much as you want about the Congress party and the India Alliance celebrating. Let me reiterate, we are not celebrating just the numbers. We are celebrating the chance that Indian democracy has got once again. We are celebrating that. We are celebrating the fact that Indian democracy is right now not hurt as much as, there was a fear. That is what we are celebrating today. And BJP may not understand or may not value that much, but we do. And I would like to reiterate, we have not run an ugly campaign at all. We ran a clean campaign. We ran a campaign where we said the right things. The manifesto was a great manifesto that we had. We did not put down anybody. We didn't insult anybody. We didn't leave out any Indian while talking about our manifesto or while talking about our vision for the nation. And that's what we are celebrating today. And we are very proud as congressmen and India Alliance partners that we have done the right thing. We didn't take the ugly, hateful route.
Okay. I request the two politicians to now allow the others to step in. Sadanand has joined us. Shruti has joined us as well. Tripadaman Singh, I'll start with you. When we were talking right after the exit polls, the picture looked radically different. Yes, Mr. Modi still equals, if he's sworn in, Lavanya reminds me, Nehru's record of 3 consecutive terms. But even in victory, he seems to be diminished by the fall below the majority mark, right? And that will impact the kind of government he can run, the nature of power that he will wield, and the policies that he will be free to take. How do you see what's happened?
Yes. No, 100%, 100%. There is palpable weakness, and there's no denying that. And there's no denying that there's been a dent in his brand. There's no denying that he'll have to do a lot of give and take in running his new ministry, in running a new coalition government. And which way the chips will fall remains really to be seen, right? It's not. This is in a sense the first election since 2001, when he first became chief minister, that he's seen any real form of setback. So how he manages a coalition ministry, how he manages relationship with his allies, and even more crucially, what effect that has on internal relationships within the BJP, is something that we'll have to wait and watch. There's no way of really predicting how things will really go, and I think the internal dynamics within the BJP are something worth kind of keeping a watch on.
In fact, through the day, there was a suggestion, Tripudaman, that somebody else might be the prime minister. That's clearly not going to happen. But there was a very strong buzz about that. When I say somebody else, I mean somebody else from the BJP. Lavanya has reminded us that, it isn't over till it's over. But I meant within the BJP.
I mean, I don't really know. I'm not really privy to what's too much of what's going on in the BJP, but definitely something like this does affect the internal balance of power within the party, and obviously it's something that it's hard to really predict. Or it's most likely that Prime Minister Modi will take oath again. It's hard to imagine someone else staking claim to that chair right now, but of course, taking oath is one thing, and keeping everything together is in such a setting is going to obviously take effort and management, and that's something we will genuinely have to wait and watch.
Yeah. Sadanand, you were making the point in the morning that it was quite different to say that Modi had been humbled, but that you didn't agree with the sort of conspiracy theories that suggested that he could be displaced within his own party. But the nature of power changes, right? So, for example, we have leaders like Nitin Gadkari and Rajnath Singh, known for somewhat frosty, if polite, relationships with Modi. We have Yogi Adityanath, who has not been loved by the central leadership of the BJP because he's a kind of independent persona. He doesn't derive his power from Delhi. Weakened today after the UP result, but still. So the point is that something could change within the BJP. We just don't know what it is, or maybe nothing could change.
Yeah, but I mean, the part that I found far-fetched is the idea that some other leader from within the BJP is going to become the prime minister, and I think that mostly reflects a kind of wishful thinking for people outside the BJP, right? And less if I don't see BJP supporters saying, yay, let's bring in Gadkari now. You don't see that, right? You don't see people saying that, oh, we would have done so much better if only Rajnath Singh had been leading the campaign. Nobody thinks that. Nobody says that. So I just don't think it's it's not necessarily a conspiracy theory. It just doesn't seem plausible to me. I think the question of Yogi is much more interesting. I mean, I don't know how this will turn out, but to me, what is a very, very interesting thing going forward is how does this affect succession planning within the BJP? How does this affect the dynamic, say, for example, between Amit Shah and Yogi? That becomes much more interesting because now, if the BJP had won with an emphatic majority, then I think the assumption would have been that, look, this is an unstoppable juggernaut, and they're going to keep winning. And who's going to be the next person? Whoever is the next person to lead the BJP will automatically be the next person to lead India. I think this election, at the very least, creates uncertainty about the future. And if I was in the opposition, I'd be feeling pretty good about my prospects 5 years down the line. And what it creates for the BJP is a much more complex set of challenges we're looking ahead at whatever the post-Modi era looks like for them.
Abhijit Iyer, we were talking earlier, and you said, as someone who otherwise identifies as a right of center voice, you said that this is an emphatic, I think you said it's quite an emphatic defeat, if I'm remembering you correctly, for the Prime Minister. But the Prime Minister has carried on as if nothing has happened, and maybe that's what you have to do in politics. You get up and you move on. What do you think is the first thing that might be different in the BJP? I can think of one thing: Parliament. How Parliament works might be different because suddenly you have fewer numbers. But outside of that, what do you think might be the next obvious thing that might be different?
So Parliament might be different, but most importantly, at least for us, for the last 10 years, we've had a drought of all the juicy cabinet gossip we used to get before those last 10 years. I think this new cabinet is going to leak like a sieve. And I think it's better for everyone that it does, because, this is important stuff for it to happen. I think it produces much better policy when policy gets critiqued before it's suddenly unveiled. That said, I did not see him just carry on as usual in that speech right now. This was a campaign.
There was a difference in language, of course. There was a difference in language, yes.
If you look at the speech he gave the last time, I'm sorry, this Apple computer has this weird emoji thing.
Yeah.
I'm really sorry.
No problem.
Balloons and hearts and things like that. But the last speech he gave was, it was heavy in rhetoric and things like that. This speech was the sort of campaign speech he probably should have been giving during the campaign, listing out all the achievements and things like that. This is not a victory speech. This is almost the beginning of a new campaign speech. The third thing is, this is now a balancing act. Let's look at Modi from, Gujarat, where at least since 2004, he faced a hostile government at the center, and he had a fairly slender majority in the Gujarat Assembly. And he managed reforms within that very, very, very well. On the other hand, he's always had a majority. This is the first time, be it as CM or as PM, that he's had to operate without that absolute majority all on his own. So we know he manages reforms in a hostile environment, but can he manage a coalition and those reforms in a hostile environment? That said, this is one of those very strange defeat or victories, whatever you want to call it, where, it's the opposition has been handed a defeat which feels to them like a victory, and the ruling party has been given a victory which feels to them like a defeat. If you notice the crowd, there was a huge difference in the crowd the last time and the crowd this time. This last time it was euphoric. This time it was very polite clapping, almost as if you were at the opera or something like that. So it was. I found it hilarious. We also need to remember the BJP by itself has gotten 10 more seats than the entire India Alliance combined. Right? And the difference between the two is 100 million, between the Congress and the BJP is 100 million votes. That's very significant. So, I think there's also reassurance out there. But if Modi's brand is undiluted brand since 2001 has been absolute majorities every single time, it is an emphatic defeat for that.
Okay. In a way, you have to measure them by their own standards, right? And the standards that they set for themselves, and measured against that. If we had seen 3 consecutive governments with parties forming governments at 240, nobody would have called this a defeat. But Modi set a goal for himself. Even if 400 par was rhetorical, 300 par was expected to be status quo. And when you don't even get status quo, it is a blow. Shruti, politics could change. I won't say will change. I won't make anything definitive, because whatever we assume turns out to be incorrect often. It could change. In what direction could it change?
I think it already has changed. I think it is a big day for India. And I think it's not simply one for democracy, but for a contested Indian electorate. So the Indian electorate has chosen a compromise, contestation, even perhaps instability over the strongman authoritarian rule we've had for 10 years. And I think that is a major change. And I thought, I heard the speech, and that's why I was late to join you. I actually thought the speech was more like a farewell address, where the person was actually just kind of, haplessly kind of listing out their achievements over the last 10 years as a kind of like an overwrought campaign speech, really. And so I think there is definitely a shift in the political mood, in the political sentiment, and certainly in the nature of the contestation and fight back in the country.
But can I be contrarian?
I agree with Abhijit Iyer Mitra that yes, this is a defeat because this was a plebiscite on one man. Had this not been, was not a campaign run in the name of NDA. It's all very, very well now to spin it as a third-time victory for the NDA and call it historic. It is not. It is a return to coalition politics. We don't know what TDP is going to do. We don't know what JDU is going to do. We don't know what even Mamata is going to do. Right. So, I mean, let's hold our horses. And I think also, sure, there's a big gap in the number of seats, but 100 seats by the Congress means that for the first time, you have two national polls in India. Quite apart from regional polls, normally you've had one party domination with lots of little parties. This is actually two national polls, and I think that is a new turn again in Indian.
Okay,
No, let me finish, because everyone said a
Oh,
large number of things.
okay, quickly. I was
I
going
mean,
to pick up. Yeah.
I think and finally, I think there's going to be a change in the nature of public debate and media in the country, also in India's courts. I think those institutions which felt beleaguered, rightly or wrongly, will now find a way to kind of return to, if not a balance, but people will find a way to kind of claw back some of the liberties that have eroded. And as Pratap Bhanu Mehta today has just said, Modi has become an ordinary politician. He's just going to have to do the kind of work that ordinary politicians. He'll have to put up with criticism. He will have to put up with compromises. He will not be able to kind of strong arm the way things have been going on
Okay.
now for 10 years.
Okay, that is an interesting point, and it's one that was made even by Yogendra Yadav and many of us who travel. The longing for more normalized politics, right? Not necessarily a huge anti-incumbency against Modi, as much as a need to contain, a need to restrain unbridled power. And I think that is an important point that you make. But Tripudaman, go ahead.
Yes, I just wanted to quickly come in on something that Shruti said and do a bit of self-aggrandizement, if I might. Last year, I'd written a paper in the Journal of Democracy, and I remember speaking about it on your show as well, where I had argued precisely that India's democratic vitality remains intact, and it should not be judged on the functioning or non-functioning thereof of so-called independent institutions or the courts, but on electoral participation and contestation. And I think that is something very much that is being proved by this election. And as Shruti says, you will see many of these institutions regain the kind of functioning they had during the coalition era, which was a functioning buttressed by the lack of concentration of executive power and nothing else. So I'm glad to be proven right, at least on that score.
Okay, I want to go back to the politicians, but Sadanand, a quick interjection from you. Go ahead. Yeah.
Look, I would personally love it, right? If you have a government that, a little bit, that where the power is a little bit more constrained, journalists are not as fearful, institutions claw back independence and all of that. So I mean, I'm not disagreeing with that. That would be great if we went in that direction. But just to play devil's advocate, why do we necessarily feel that would be true? I mean, it's possible that he comes back. He still has the same right-hand man who is a home minister. He has the ED. He has the CBI. He has all. I mean, we've seen governments without majorities, able to use these things, if they feel that they need to in the past. So why do we suddenly think that we're going to return to a sort of 1990s IK Gujral sort of situation? Because I don't see the numbers taking us there. I would agree with that if this were, say, BJP had come back with 182 or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But this is going to be a pretty strong, stable government. It has a couple of allies. It has, and then even if you were to sort of, let's just say, I mean, I don't know how easy it is for a government, any government anywhere in the world, to kind of change its manner of functioning in this way. I mean, does this mean that suddenly you're going to have a situation where
isn't it easier
and start calling Modi names? Are we going to see
No.
that happen?
No, but then can I try and respond? Isn't it easier to have a balance of power when you have a significant opposition? What had happened in the last two terms is that your opposition had kind of paled into insignificance. You didn't have a national counter poll.
Correct, but I think what you have in India is that when you have a powerful executive, and the powerful executive really controls many levers. I don't think that those levers have been released, and so I'm just going to put down metrics, right? Let's see if they happen or not. I'd be happy if they happen. I'm not wrong. Don't get me wrong on the direction. But are we going to suddenly find on nightly news, on the Hindi news channels, that there is going to be room for people who say sharply critical things, right? Is Dhruv Rathi getting a show on Aaj Tak anytime soon? I'm just to be rhetorical.
Yeah.
Are we going to find that opposition leaders do not suddenly find the taxman at their door? Are we going to? I mean, what are the things that people complained about
Okay.
over the last 10 years that we genuinely think are going to be
Okay.
different in the next 5?
Let's
I don't have an answer, but I think I would be good to be
let's
look at that in
let's
specific.
let's park that. I know Shruti wants to respond, but I also want to bring in some more political questions. What happens to the India alliance? I think Shruti made the point. We don't know what Mamata Banerjee is going to do. We don't know what Chandrababu Naidu is going to do. We don't know what anybody is going to actually do over the next some years, some months even. Lavanya, let me start with you and then Shrikant Karunesh. What happens to the India alliance? Does it remain an alliance as an opposition bloc in these 5 years, assuming that the NDA forms the government? Or is it too early to ask that question?
At this point of time, I think it is a little premature to answer that because we were focusing on the elections and we were focusing on how to stay united during the elections. And then, now that you bring up this question, I think this is something that I should check with my bosses. Ideally, we would all like to be in the bloc and be a united opposition if we are in the opposition, or if it happens, if there is a miracle, or if there is any chances of forming a government, that would be great as well, because I'm sure that would mean, a lot of your guests were pointing at this particular point, Barkha, the decorum of politics or decorum of political dialogues needs to change, or it needs to improve once again. And I think that will happen with India bloc. I'm sure there are a few people here and there who might commit mistakes, but overall there will be an improvement in this dialogue. Also, when we were talking about opposition parties, you also mentioned that earlier the opposition was quite weak, and I think that led to a little bit of unbridled power for the government. That is exactly what shouldn't be happening in a democracy, isn't it? I mean, if BJP had committed that, and it has committed that, I'm going to be very clear, they have committed that. That is exactly what we were fighting against. And we didn't have a great fighting chance, but we have fought very well. I'm very happy, Barkha. I don't care who mocks, who makes fun of us, but we are very, very happy today.
Okay, you're entitled to your happiness. Why not? Shrikant Karunesh, are you unhappy today? How would you describe your mood?
We are celebrating. In fact, I just finished all our crackers celebration. Mithai laddu kha ke aaya hoon main. So
अच्छा, अच्छी बात है. I'm happy that both of you are celebrating. ऐसा ही होना चाहिए. But go ahead, yeah.
The one main thing I want to tell, Congress should feel happy because first time they are qualified as an opposition party. With 44 seats earlier, they were not a qualified opposition party. Only they are qualified because now I want to tell you, I totally agree with Sadanandji. When we are forming a government, we have a clear majority. And who is stopping us from ruling the country in the style of Modi ji? Modi ji, yes, he was having upper hand, but what for? He was not for votes. He was doing everything for the country. Article 370, triple talaq, and you see CAA, all these stuffs. No, everybody were not reluctant. The people were reluctant to touch all those stuffs. So he was bold enough. The way he was addressing
but can he, for example, go ahead with the Uniform Civil Code without getting the consent of Chandrababu Naidu? 1 minute, sir. 1 minute, sir. The difference is, here's the differences I see. It's very elementary. The difference is when you are below the majority mark, you need your allies to agree with your policy. When you are above the majority mark, you can do it anyway. That is it is basic politics, right? Lavanya, coming to you in a second. I just wanted to respond to that. Yeah. Shrikantji?
I do totally agree. I totally agree. Because one thing you should see, the second largest party, Congress, has touched just 100. And we are 240 plus 242, 243, that range we are there. So we have received the clear people's mandate. So we have no regrets. We are celebrating actually. And all our alliance parties are with us. And it's very difficult for Congress. There is a terminology in Tamil we used to say, a bag full of amla. So it is intact when it is in the bag. The moment you put it on the floor, everything runs to different corners of the room. So it cannot be intact. That is the India alliance. See, every small party is formed into a bag. because everybody has got a
Okay.
different direction of movement, different ideologies, different terms. They don't have any common minimum program, any common consensus is not there. And you are not sure what Mamtaji will do, what he will do.
We are not sure both ways, and that is the nature of coalition politics. We are not sure about Mamta. We are not sure about Chandrababu. He has previously been quite upset with the BJP. Mamta Banerjee has been quite upset at times with the Congress. Lavanya, go ahead.
He may be upset. Now we have set up him because our setup. He got the government.
He was
is ruling.
He
is going to rule Andhra Pradesh.
Shrikantji, the question was for me, sir.
Okay, go ahead, Lavanya.
I would like to ask him, because he's from Tamil Nadu. In 2014, BJP and its allies had 18.8% votes in Tamil Nadu, and it has dropped this time. And what happened with Annamalai, sir? When you're talking about celebrations, let us also please give us the numbers of Tamil Nadu.
Okay,
and
okay.
We are very proud of the
I will repeat.
Substandard governance that you have delivered for 10 years. It is not something to be proud of, sir. In every index, India has fallen down. So there are children going without food for more than 24 hours. So please don't feel proud of that. Now, I would like you to specifically answer why did you fall down from 18.8% and lower now in Tamil Nadu?
Okay,
Tamil Nadu, sir.
Okay, the Tamil Nadu vote share is on our screen. Yes, go ahead, Shrikant.
He's referring about 2014 election.
Yes.
When we had
and your current
18%.
numbers, sir.
Now let him. Lavanya, they have not opened a seat, but their vote share has gone up from 2019 to 2024. But not in 2014. You had an alliance. I guess that was the difference. But go ahead.
That time different. Lot of parties were there. There was no second or third. We were the third friend, and ADMK was alone, and we had so many. Every other parties were with us. So there is a lot of difference with that scenario and today's scenario. And moreover, this time every vote has come for BJP. It is totally our votes. So this time, seeing this 10 years, after 10 years of whatever you call as incumbency, whatever you call it, our leader, Mr. Annamalai, has carried this to this level. So this is a real achievement for us.
Okay, the BJP is at about little over, close to about around 10% of the vote share. And that's what's happened in Tamil Nadu compared to about 4% in 2019. I want to take this to, yes, Abhijit Iyer Mitra. Let's start taking last comments now. I think we've all had a long day. Abhijit, if you were the Prime Minister, what would be this Prime Minister, what would be on top of your mind today? What would you be worrying about or anxious about or thinking about?
First, I won't wish the calamity of an Abhijit Iyer Mitra Prime Ministership on anyone. That said, if that unfortunate event were to happen, I think it would be economics, more economics. Your path to social reform right now is blocked. So focus on the economic reforms. There is lots of low-hanging fruit to go after. Simple regulatory reforms. Ease of doing business. I just came back from Bangkok. I ate at a Michelin 2-star restaurant. It's the highest-rated Indian restaurant called Ga. And the lady who runs it, Garima Arora, was telling me it took her 4 days to set up a restaurant out there with the alcohol license, with everything. In India, the same thing, doing this in Khan Market is going to take you between 6 months to a year. It doesn't work that way. You can't run businesses like that. You can't industrialize like that. You have to have simplified land laws. You have to have simplified labor laws. I would focus on that. It would bring in investment. It would bring in jobs. Right now, we have near jobless growth. That's what I'd focus on.
Okay. Shruti, you said that politics has already shifted in language and expression, and you expect it to shift further. What do you think the opposition's focus would be in the next 5 years? Might be?
I don't know. I mean, I think it'd be more of the same, because I think one can also safely say historically that this is the first ideological challenge to the Hindu nationalism as such since 1980. So you've had UPA government, but it was not a challenge to Hindu nationalism. So I think you're going to see, I think the surprise, as I said earlier to you, is how actually the constitution itself became an emotive issue of attachment. In vast amounts of the electorate. I actually just wanted to say something to Sadanand's point about direction of travel and will it change, will it not change? I mean, historically, I think one should worry from weak leaders, because weak leaders tend to be the cruelest. Whether it was Stalin or Hitler. I mean, you can even think of other ones and not democratically elected ones, that their worst atrocities were done when they were weak. But I think I think the coalition government I think will force compromise, will force, as it were, negotiation, will force this idea of uniformity of lifestyle, of devotion, style of speaking. All that uniformity is going to have to give it, be rested. So there's going to be space opening, and I think the brute numbers can be read in another way as well. I think the increase in vote share and percentages of the opposition at a time of full spectrum domination, is a story also to tell. So I actually think it's a very not evenly poised, but it's a nice, good, important opening to India's competitive democracy. And it puts a halt on the BJP's ambition to become a party state in India.
Sadanand, you wanted to respond? Hang on. Sadanand, can we unmute Sadanand? Yeah.
So I think what's happening is that a lot of this post-factor analysis, there's a little bit of wish casting going on, right? Specifically, what will change would be my question, right? I mean, like, let's just say we all agree on what the issues are or what the problems are. Obviously, in the larger country, people do not agree. I want to know what specifically would change. Like, do you really suddenly see, a very dramatically different media landscape?
Would be tougher to pass a uniform civil code
Yeah, that's
without
on the legislative
consensus.
front, no question about that. But I'm
Yeah.
talking about the kinds of things that have troubled people over the last 10 years, the people who have been troubled, right? It's been the kind of things like, crackdown on dissenters. It's been the sort of, the troll armies, not that both sides don't have them, but the troll armies. It's been this sort of use of ED, CBI, that sort of thing. Why do we believe that suddenly that won't happen anymore? Why? Because Chandrababu Naidu will say, don't do it? I mean, how does that work? And then if you really believe that things are going to change substantively, give me a specific example of something that you think can now happen, not legislation. I take your point on legislation, Barkha. I'm talking about in day-to-day administration that could, would not have been possible to happen, say, a year ago or
Okay, Shruti, answer that in 30 seconds because I've got to close with Ripudaman. We're out of time. Shruti? Yeah.
I think the courts, for a start, and I go back to Indira Gandhi's moment of 1977 when people thought not much would change. Legislative agenda, absolutely. Already the BJP's manifesto had battered on the back foot by responding to the Congress's manifesto. Already the cultural agenda was down. I think you will see a change in the Supreme Court, and you will see certainly a change even in a wider media landscape. You may like or may not like Dhruv Rathi. He doesn't probably need a show in Aaj Tak, but he has become a national phenomenon to compete with other mainstream figures. So I think you're going to get a contested landscape. The media already looked contested by the time this election campaign ended. But I'm putting my money on courts to begin with, because that's exactly what Mrs. Gandhi had to face when she returned to when she lost power in 1977.
Okay, Tripudaman, I'm going to end with just a question of my own. This kind of media landscape that Shruti talks about, this hyperpolarization, this is not unique to India, right? This kind of mainstream versus alternative, partisan media, left versus right, other people trying to find a space if they don't want to be in either camp. These are debates that are taking place across the world, and there are, the sort of ideas of old elites and new elites. These are debates happening globally. This is not unique to India. You made the point about how, in a way, you feel that the debate around electoral democracy should end with what's happened today. I just want to ask you to respond to the opposition's argument that where they've got is despite a lack of a level playing field and not because of it.
The lack of a level playing field, I think, is also not something that's new, right? So if you go back 30 years, 50 years, the opposition has always had the lack of a level playing field. So when the Congress was in power for extended periods of time, obviously it had access to a lot more funding, to the instruments of state, to the levers that power brings you, and they also didn't shy away from using them. Perhaps the BJP has used it to a much greater extent or to a much more targeted extent, but it's not something that has appeared out of nowhere. Secondly, again, drawing on your point on what's happening globally, one of the things that's particular to India is just how much is at stake if you lose. Because when you're at the receiving end of state power, the government can really twist your arms in ways that it is not possible to do in somewhere like Britain or somewhere like America. So the institutional, constitutional, legal guardrails that should really protect the citizen are very, very weak in India. And that's not something that is Modi's fault. That's not something created by him. That's something that very much goes back quite a long way. And until something is done about that, you will continue to have this situation where whoever can muster a single party majority is able to, in a way, exercise executive authority in this strongman manner.
Okay, we will leave it there just because there are so many questions to talk about and we can't answer them all in one day. We have to allow space also for things to develop, for the final tally to be counted. What we do know right now is that the NDA is below 300. The BJP is hovering around the 240 mark. A number of big BJP leaders have been defeated, probably the most prominent among them, Smriti Irani, at the hands of Kishori Lal Sharma in Amethi. Thank you very much to Sadanand, Tripur, Lavanya, Shrikantji, Abhijit, and Shruti, and to our audience for staying with us from 7:30 through the day. We will see you tomorrow with more analysis and more perspectives. Thank you for watching. Take care. We're at the Indian mainland's southernmost tip in Kanyakumari, the confluence of the Bay of Bengal, the Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean. It is from here that we're beginning our big road trip to the heart and the soul of India, Harbors of Democracy. That's all about traveling thousands of kilometers to look at the food, the fun, the festivity, the flavors of this election, but also, of course, to tell the stories of you, the people, of we, the people. At Mojo Story, we have always gone to where the story is. It could be the battlefields of Israel and Gaza, it could be the conflict zone of Manipur, or it could be the sorrow and the tragedy of COVID. We think of all of you as members of our community, of our family. So, I'm urging you and requesting you today to help us tell your stories and our stories. So do become a Mojo member. Support and power our storytelling, but also get first access to our big interviews, our special ground reports, our town halls, and also have the opportunity to ask our newsmakers questions directly, as well as get published on our platform. Become a Mojo member, click on the link below, and see you soon.